So I get to speak to other moms who are doing this and getting into real estate. I initially got into real estate as part-time, just something I was going to do on the side. After the first year, second year I doubled my income, third year doubled that income, fourth year doubled that income, and then we had 2005 happen, and that began the backward slide of the real estate market, and the short sales and the foreclosures started to happen. So it's been an interesting 15 years. The one thing I would say about real estate is be prepared. It is not what you're learning now is not going to be what you're doing in 3 years. This market shifts continually. And I believe that we're in a market shift right now. I think when you look at the data that we've seen about where's our inventory, my assistant said that she's seen more cancellations in the last 2 months than she's seen in years. So what that's telling me is sellers are getting multiple offers on properties, right? Has anybody in here written an offer yet? Okay, you have. Were you in a multiple offer situation by chance, or were you the only one?
They had received another offer prior,
Okay.
but weren't considering it very seriously, and then ours came in, and I've written 3 for the same client, and none of them's really been a multiple. They didn't choose ours, like, out of a bunch of offers that came in, but there were other offers on the home.
What was the price range?
Between 270 and 330.
Okay, very aggressive market. Anything 200 to 300 right now, multiple offers for sure. What about your situation?
I just did my own, but they had no other offers on the home. They were on the market for a month, and I think it kind of worked in my favor because the realtor on the house, they were friends with they were a neighbor,
Okay.
also friends, so he did it kind of pro bono. And he didn't put very good pictures up, so I wasn't even gonna go see it. But because my kids are in school over in the area, I was like telling my husband, because it has no pool either. And I told my husband, I said, you know what, I'm gonna go check it out anyway. And it's beautiful. It was beautiful, and they never got an offer.
Isn't that interesting? So somebody thought, I'll save money. My neighbor will do this for free, because probably the neighbor had I hate people who use air asterisks, but a real job. I've had people say that to me. When I met my neighbors, they said, oh, what do you do? And I said, I'm a realtor. Oh, my husband used to be a realtor, and then he got a real job. And they don't even realize they say it to you. And you're like, oh, awesome, I'm sure I make 3 times what your husband makes, but that's awesome. So somebody took it for free, so they felt their value was very low.
He charged them a little bit though, but it wasn't just like a certain amount.
There were no professional photos. The photos were terrible,
Yeah.
which led them to have probably few showings
Right.
on a house that turned out to be very marketable.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy?
Which worked out in my favor, so
Sure.
I was happy about it. So I don't know if they ever had anyone go there, to be honest.
So that's a great lesson. People think they're saving money. Wouldn't they have rather been in a multiple offer situation with great photos? Great photos are $100. Professional photos are $80 to $120, depending on the time of day that you choose. So the market, I believe, is shifting. I think that our inventory is climbing. In May, we were at about a 1.6 month supply. Just so you know, in Maricopa County, our average, which means balanced market, good amount of buyers, good amount of sellers, is approximately 3 months here in the valley. So when we were in May, 1.6 months, that means there's 2 buyers, 3 buyers for every property that comes on the market, which means competition. The other thing that's happening, I hope you're all aware of, are interest rates. So in December, the people with the Federal Reserve meet and they decide what's going to happen in the upcoming year. So last December, they talked and they said, we're gonna have 3 interest rate hikes in 2018. So they put that information out there, which it's time. We've had extremely low interest rates, 3.5, 4. Now we're closer to the 4.5 price point. So we hit all 3 of those interest rate hikes by May. And guess what happened in May? They got together again and they said, we're gonna do 1 more this year. So all of a sudden everyone's puckering and thinking, we need to get off the fence. If we're gonna move, this is the time to do it. Let's do it while the interest rates are still low. So I think that contributed to some of the people buying, maybe getting off the fence towards let's do this now, let's sell now. It's a really good market to sell in. A lot of times we're writing offers right now, and the sellers aren't going to be ready to move for 6 months, 8 months, 10 months down the road because they're new builds. They're buying new builds, so they're locked into something. And they don't really want to go, but they're raising their hand like, we're eventually going to sell. Let's take advantage of the lower interest rates and being the seller's market. So I think one of the things that's contributing right now to the cancellations is, so you're selling your house and you get 5 offers. So you're going to take the best, hopefully, not the highest priced isn't always the best. The one most likely to appraise, the one with that needs to buy your house. You get the backstory on it, like they need to move here. They're coming from Oregon, his job is starting, rather than somebody who, well, we kind of want to be in this neighborhood, or so you have a highly motivated buyer, and these people are putting your house under contract. You've got a great offer, you've had 4 or 5, and you're like, yes, we're going to do this. And what's happening is the buyer's expectation when they go through that inspection and that due diligence period is they're paying top dollar, right? You didn't come down on your price. You didn't negotiate that you were going to move out in 20 days. You're going to stay for 60. So they want those things that come up in that inspection fixed. They're paying $5,000 more than what you were asking. They want it all fixed. And sellers have gotten a little bit arrogant. Oh, I got 5 offers. My house is probably worth more than what my agent listed it at. Be prepared for that one. So, and you're like, well, I got 4 more offers here. Take it or leave it. I'm not fixing anything. And so that gets shuffled back over to the buyer, and the buyer says, there's 2 more houses that came on the market in here. They either fix it or we're walking. And that's contributing to the cancellations. So we're seeing more and more cancellations. Most of them, a lot of them have been on BINSRs, buyer's inspection notices. And I think it's a bit of a reality check for sellers right now. So we have seen an increase in days on market. Our hottest market, again, is under that 300 price point. I think there's still multiple offers on some of those properties, but buyers are getting a little bit more savvy. So I think that's signifying a shift right now. So be careful, watch the information. Sure.
Are you kind of prepping some of your sellers as a listing agent to maybe factor in some money for repairs to
Yes.
satisfy?
Absolutely. So I know I'm going to be negotiating, and then the name of this class is negotiations, right? So everything that we are going to chat about today hopefully is going to lead back to this negotiation. So when I'm selling a house that I know was built in 1984, my first question is, do you know when the roof was replaced? It's an asphalt shingle roof, let's say. Oh, we've never replaced it. Okay, how old's your air conditioning unit? Oh, the air conditioning unit runs fine. We're only down here in the winter, so we've never used the air conditioning. Yeah, those things leak. They need Freon. Freon is going to be banned in 2020. Freon is going to be extremely expensive. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking of investing in storing Freon right now. So there's all these things happening, and I know, I'm not a roof inspector, but I know the average life expectancy to an asphalt shingle roof. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? With the shingles, with the little granular rocks on it. The average life expectancy is about 25 years. Corning does make one that's a 30-year roof with a warranty, but then when they do end up replacing it at year 27, it's prorated. So it's still not good. They've just extended their proration on it, so to speak. So concrete tile versus clay tile. What's the age of things in the house? You can look up and see, is this a newer garage door or an older one? That's not a big ticket item, but sometimes some of those older garage doors are really heavy and they need an upgraded garage door opener. So when you're walking through the house at your listing appointment or with your buyer, you need to be taking notes on these things. Like, let's see, the age is usually on the air conditioning unit outside. Some people replace air handlers and not air conditioners, so you end up with a mismatched system, which can be a problem. So I am talking to them up front. Okay, we're most likely, how does your air conditioner run? We're most likely gonna get hit for a new air conditioner. And by the way, air conditioners are about $5,000 right now, anywhere between $4,000 and like $5,500 average. Which is a water heater. Like, does everything in your house work? Well, yeah, we've never used the dishwasher in 8 years. We just don't like dishwashers, so we think it works. Well, I bet it doesn't. I bet the seal doesn't work anymore. I bet the thing leaks at the bottom. You know, I think let's be prepared. And by the way, a dishwasher is probably $600, $700 average. So yes, I am preparing them. And for example, I have one closing on Friday, and they said, well, we had half of the roof replaced. It's like, tell me about having half of your roof replaced. Well, there was a hailstorm, one of those microbursts that came through our area, and sure enough, when one of those pops up, it's like it spreads. All the other neighbors want to have their roof inspected. So the insurance company comes out and they said, well, the storm came from the south, and you have a north-south facing house, and it damaged only the shingles on the south side of the house, so we're just going to replace them. I think we can match it, and we'll get you half a roof. So I have that going on right now. Well, of course, the buyers want an all-new roof. And the back is like 6 or 7 years old, and the front's 25.
Yeah.
So how do you, okay, a roof on a house like this is between $6,000, $6,500. Half of it, I'm going to say it's still about $3,500. We're going to be prepared to see this come up in an inspection. So if you're upfront with your clients on these things, you put it out there. They remember it. Go ahead.
So just out of curiosity, if they're getting rid of Freon, what are they going to use for air conditioning?
They have a new product. It's banned in the United States. They're banning Freon. As a matter of fact, they're phasing it out right now. They put limits on the production of Freon. The price is going to go from, I don't know what it is right now, but I'm sure that it will more than triple, and it will be the people that have the older units that need to pay, $150 a pound for pound pressure, PSI, for this Freon. And a lot of people used to buy it in Mexico. It's against the law to bring it in, but
Why are they not wanting the Freon now?
it's bad for the environment. It's environment. You can thank your U.S. senators.
That's interesting, because we've gone on Freon since.
Yeah, since the 50s, for sure. Yeah, I don't know what the product is that they're replacing it with, but these are all things that you should be concerned about. You should be talking to your clients. Tell me about this. Tell me about any recent repairs. Have you ever had any insurance claims? You want to be asking this. You want to know this up front. If they say slab leak, oh, well, we had a slab leak, but we got it fixed. Well, slab leaks are due to expansive soil. If you guys are getting a Binzer and you're representing the buyer and you see a slab leak on there, and oh, we got it fixed, there's a reason why slab leaks happen. They don't happen on their own. They happen because of the large torrential rains that we have in the summer during our monsoon season, and all that ground gets saturated, it expands, and those pipes that are underneath the ground that are in the concrete, there's not a lot of give to concrete. And when you have an area that is hit particularly hard, and there are pockets throughout the valley, and you will kind of become accustomed to them. Like Silvergate over here off of Val Vista, just north of Warner, Silverstone Ranch. South of that entrance, a lot of those houses in there had slab leaks.
Is that usually because they get flooded, or?
No, it's just because of the way the property was kind of set up when they did the sewer curb gutter, when they did the master planning of the community. Maybe it wasn't done properly. Sometimes it's because of the water underneath the ground has been depleted for some other reason. So that ground creates fissures. There's lots of areas. There are actually fissure maps for Queen Creek and other parts of the valley where you can go and find out. So there's actually a picture in Queen Creek. It's like this post, and it showed where the water level was, and it showed how much the ground had sunken because they had depleted those water stores underneath the ground, which caused that to dry up and the ground to dry. That's how fissures open up. So there's all sorts of reasons. But anyhow, so when you're hearing this, pay close attention. You need to talk to them about a history of insurance claims. If you're taking a listing, you should be asking, here's the seller property disclosures, let's fill this out right now. That way you can have that discussion up front and prepare them for the concessions that are most likely to come.
So if there is a fisher, what do you recommend for your buyer if there's an issue?
You investigate and let them, or give them the information in your buyer advisory. There's websites for them to go to. If you have an inclination, for example, I have a house listed in Augusta Ranch, and anybody know this airport over here? Anybody ever heard of this? Used to be Williams Air Force Base, and it was Mesa Gateway, now it's Phoenix Gateway Airport. What do you think is going to happen with that airport as the valley grows?
More flights.
More flights, there's more airlines that are coming into that area. It's going to become more of a hub. The people that are buying in Augusta Ranch, I mean, it's not right next door, but there's a lot of developments around there. You can go to the flight overlay, Maricopa County or Mesa Gateway Airport, flight overlays. And you could Google it and it will show you a map and it has the roads in there. So there's a dark gray area and then a lighter gray and then kind of an area with hash marks. You can be assured that that area is going to become more and more affected by the traffic from that airport. You can't sell your clients a house in there and then get a call from them in 5 years and hear, you never told us there was an airport. So when you're taking a listing, most of the people that have had a home like for 10 years in Augusta Ranch, they're not going to really chat you up because they've gotten accustomed to it over time. But you have to say, okay, when you're filling out the specs, by the way, you're in a flight overlay, just put that down. That's the only way I can protect you is if you disclose that. They're like, what do you mean we're in it? Well, do you ever hear an airplane? Well, sometimes.
Well,
Yeah.
I lived in Chicago and actually in Franklin Park, right next to where I used to live at this point, they took people's homes because they were expanding the airport.
Mhm.
The government comes in and took their homes, and that really sucks because you're never going to get the price that your
Right.
home is worth. And a lot of these people who don't want to move because they've been there forever, but because they were expanding the airport, they have no
Yeah.
choice.
Well, and that's going to happen here. I mean, really, we're not going to become a smaller community. We're going to have, we're landlocked over here at Sky Harbor. They could add another airport on the west side of town. I mean, we've already got Luke Air Force Base. I can't even sell a house over, I just sold one a week ago. Friday it closed, and it was close to the Deer Valley Airport. And our broker, Jim Kellender, said, please have them sign off on the overlay. Great idea. I didn't even think of it. And that's a small Falcon Field style. It's a small, it's not an airport, it's just a private pilot. But the thing that they're doing at some of these airports is there's flight schools. There's traffic all day long.
Yeah, it's more dangerous than airport.
Yes. I know. Do you live near there?
No, but I work for Allegiant Air. I'm a flight attendant.
Okay.
I've heard that like a lot of these pilots don't speak English.
They don't speak English.
And,
You're right.
And there's problems with
Communication.
air traffic control and
Yep. We were coming in for a landing, and there was a flight school, and he didn't speak English. He had a Middle Eastern accent, and they told him to hold short on this runway. And we're coming in for a landing, and just as we're in the glide path already, and this plane pulls out in front of us. What's dangerous about it is that guy's pouring the cold store to take off and get up in the air, and we're already up in the air. We can't come down on top of this guy, so you got two planes in the air at the same time. And you got one holding right, and you got one going left, and yeah, it's crazy. And you get out of your plane and you're like kissing the ground. But it is dangerous. It is, we've had a couple of incidents at Falcon. But anyhow, long story short.
I have a question. As far as like when you find, like in that example, half of the unit was replaced and things like that, are there warranties that, I know that they're probably going to be more expensive, but at that point, would that be an option for a buyer?
You're not going to get a warranty on an existing roof. You will not. That is something that's not covered by home warranties. There is, American Home Guardian has like $1,000 something to do with their home warranty where they'll give you like $1,000 for leaks, but you cannot get a warranty on your roof. And just be prepared, because I sold my house about a year and a half ago. It was 5,300 square feet of clay tile. Clay tile is extremely expensive. You think, why did that roof look like it's so uneven, or the colors are uneven? It's one of the most expensive roofs that you can do, are those clay tile, or those stacked tile, they call it pinto. There's, they take the clay out of the riverbeds and they form those tiles over their legs and they sit them out in the sun to dry. And so my roof, my bids were between $42,000 and $50,000 for a new roof. The clay tile roofs last about 22 to 25 years. That's it. And now, again, the tile that you see, the asphalt shingle, that's decorative. What's helping your roof is what's underneath, is the underlayment. So a lot of people have, you can take off the tile, put a new underlayment, and put the tile back on. I've done that when roofs needed to be replaced. There are roofing companies that will do it with concrete tile, usually. So I knew that this was coming up. So in my seller property disclosure statements, I didn't write, roof's gotta go, gotta replace the roof. But the roof has reached the end of its life expectancy. They can do that but I knew if I stayed in that house another 3 years and gonna wait to sell it, I knew that I was gonna have another $50,000 to put towards that house. So I'm banking on, is that market gonna come back? I was in a price range closer to $1 million. So what was that market gonna do? So you have to be prepared to advise your clients. Like, how are we gonna word this? How are we gonna address this? Let's be upfront with it. Let's price the house to where we know. And the one that had the half of the roof replaced, I put that in the listing. Not in the special comments, but the public comments. House is priced to reflect the roof has reached the end of its life expectancy. So that you're not getting somebody going through the inspection and then coming back to you and saying, now I need $7,000 to replace this roof. No, we disclosed, and then you signed the spuds, and then you knew when you made the offer. So be upfront about things like that, the big items. The big items are always the roof and the air conditioner. Swimming pools are big items too. If you've got a leak or a crack or needs to be replastered or pebble sheen or whatever. So this is all part of what you're doing to negotiate the most favorable terms for your, stop it. Okay. How are you guys doing so far with adding contacts to your database? Are you all into your KW database? Okay, don't make the mistake. Well, back 15 years ago when we got into this business, we were more belly to belly, more postcard, more calling people. But now you've got this great database. If you start working this database now, feed it. So baby, you gotta grow it. This is your business. And I would say don't make one of the mistakes that we made is we didn't feed it on a regular basis. I would say take out your day planner and say Tuesday mornings between 8 and 9, that's all I'm doing, it's my database. I'm putting people in that I met at the party this weekend. I'm, these people that I golfed with, or my kids went to Girl Scouts and I met these, whatever. Be feeding it. I'm a realtor. And so that you're sending out that information to them with market updates or whatever it is that you're sending out. But feed that database and just pencil it in, even if it's only once a week. Whatever time it is, make that a priority because that's your referrals. That's how you're getting the new business. So when they talk about this, what your habits are, make that a habit. Like my habit is 9 a.m. on Monday mornings. That's meeting time. Well, honor that. Don't plan anything else. It's like when you're working out. You plan that time. You honor that time. You need to be doing that with your contacts. Anybody done any previewing in here? How'd that go?
Good. Most of them were new builds, but I kind of went around some
Cool.
of the houses in my area and kind of went into a few of the homes.
You should be doing that. Anybody, you previewed?
Cadence near Eastmart.
Is that new?
Yeah, new builds there.
Okay. God bless you.
I don't know if I don't think I got into any resale ones this weekend. I did an open house, but
Way to go. Did you preview any homes in the area prior to your open house? Did you have that time?
no, because it was built last year. It's a very new.
Oh, not a lot on the market.
Yeah, no, there's not.
Okay. So previewing homes is super important, and I love to share this story. You guys see any markers around
They're
here?
inside.
So my team and I went to preview homes, and we went to Circle G at Highlands West, which is like between Warner and Elliott on Higley Road. Nice custom home development. And we probably had 5 houses. The market was pretty down at the time, especially those houses are on the higher end. I would say at the time 650 to 1.5 million in there. So our team decided to set aside a day every week that's all we did. Now I've been in this market 15 years. So I'm not new to real estate, and this is still what I do. You did an open house, I still do open houses. I'm not so fabulous an agent that I don't think I need, I don't need to be in front of the people. I do. You do. That's your referrals. That's how people know who you are. So, and we're leaving business cards when we're going to our, I want to show you what one of our cards looks like. When we're going to preview properties. So we try and set ourselves apart from all the other agents that are just throwing a business card. This is one of them. I have several different ones. But, so we go through these houses. We're on probably house number 5, and this house is listed at 1.385 million. And when we call to preview, we say we are previewing. It's not a showing, it's a preview. Please be upfront with people and tell them that you're previewing. And they say, oh, well, that's my kid's nap time, or gosh, the house isn't perfect, I can't get my cleaning lady. Just tell them, no, I'm just previewing. I'm a realtor, this is what I do. I'm accustomed to looking past this. This particular gal said that her kids may be down for a nap, and we said, okay, we'll just sneak through. We don't have to look in the baby's room. She's like, okay, yeah, come over. So this is house number 4 or 5 on our list that morning. They were all in the same neighborhood, all in Circle G. So we get to this house, and we've seen these other 4, and she's like the nicest gal, and she's so proud, like, okay, and I have a coffee maker in my bathroom, and look at the train set we put around the ceiling in the game room, and I mean, it was just cool stuff that she showed us. She was very excited about her house, and we said, well, how many offers have you had? And she's like, well, I haven't had any offers. She goes, I haven't heard from my agent in 2 months. I was like, wow. I said, well, your house really stands out against the other ones that we've shown. Now, you cannot you can't solicit business. So let me just be upfront with you. You cannot solicit that business. But you can be honest. Oh my gosh, your house compared to the other 4 that we've seen today, your house is fabulous, and your pool. And so she says, well, why do you think it hasn't sold? Well, you should call your agent and talk to her about that and find out. And she said, yeah, we had 1 offer back in November, and it's February. We had 1 offer in November. I said, oh. She goes, oh, it was lowball. I said, what was lowball? She says, oh, it was like $950,000. And she's asking me to put 3 in. I was like, wow, that is low based on what we've seen. I agree with you. And she said, yeah, it was some LLC. And I said, oh, okay. And she's like, you guys are so nice, and it was so nice to see you. And she was getting divorced, and she really needed to sell the house. So I get a call that afternoon. I'm on my way to Las Vegas for a soccer tournament, and it's this gal. She said, I canceled the listing with my other agent. She hasn't called me back all day. As a matter of fact, I haven't spoken to her. All I get are text messages from her. I was like, okay. She goes, I canceled the listing. I would like you guys to list the house. So I called the other 2 gals, Mary and Alicia, and I said, get the listing paperwork done and get over there right now. They're like, oh no, we'll do it tomorrow. I'm like, no. You do it right now, because remember, she said that they'd had an offer from an LLC, which tells me it's an investor. I said, they're watching this house, and on the offer, it was a 1031 exchange, so somebody had designated that as a property that they had to close on within 6 months. So sure enough, my agent goes over there to take the listing, there's a doorbell rings while she's there, thank you, and it's an agent with an offer by an LLC. And so she's like, I don't know what to do with this. I just relisted my house. So my agent's calling me. She goes, oh my God, Barbie, there's a realtor. It's the same realtor that had the other offer. I said, okay, take the offer, fax it to me. I need to look at this offer. It's a different LLC. You can look up who owns LLCs, and you should, on the Arizona Corporation Commission. And you can find out who the signers are on the LLC. Same owner. Same owner as the previous offer, we found out, but different LLC. And that was for like $1 million. So we counter and the offer dies. But it was also a 1031 exchange. I'm like, isn't that interesting? Let me look at the date of that first offer that they received back in November. So I did the math. They had to close by April 30th or something. And anyhow, so we ended up taking this listing for 1.385. We ended up closing this deal at 1.35 in a very down market. And it was because I knew that it was an LLC, and I knew that they had designated it. When you designate something as a 1031 exchange, that guy was either gonna pay taxes on 1.3 million. Now if you have 1.3 million, or 1.4, let's just say 1.4 million cash to buy a house, that probably puts you in, I'm gonna say the 38% tax bracket. 38% of 1.4 million, let's just go with 40%. That's a lot of money. It's roughly $56,000 in taxes if they didn't close on that house, because it was a 1031 exchange. He was going to have to pay that amount in taxes. So we held firm on our 1.385, and we got down to the day before it had to close, and we got our price. We got our 1.35, and they asked me, they said, what do you think this house would rent at? And I said, oh, you should be able to get $4,000 a month easy on this house. It was beautiful. It's a huge house. And I said, you know, but hang on, my client can't be out by tomorrow, so we want a lease agreement to lease this back for up to 60 days. And they were like, oh yeah, no problem, we'll lease it back to her, because part of the 1031 exchange is you cannot live there as a personal property. You have to rent the house, you have to lease it, or attempt to lease it. So I knew that we were doing them a favor to have a lease, and so I go call my client, and I said, how long do you need? And she's like, oh, give me a couple weeks. I said, no, I'm gonna give you a couple months. So I go back in when we've got the deal pulled together, and I said, condition of us accepting this 1.35 is that you have to sign this lease. And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. And they look at the lease and they go, well, the lease is only for $10 a month. And I said, oh yeah. And they said, well, you told us we could get 4,000. I said, oh, you can. Not from my client. We're doing you a favor. So we were able to lease that house back for 2 months for $10 a month. And when you've tracked, when you ask those questions, you're able to negotiate a deal that's a win-win for your client. Her husband had left her, and she had 3 little kids, and there was no way I was getting her out that weekend. And so they were pissed. They were not happy with me, but that was the best way to negotiate. This was one of the funnest deals I've ever done. But because of this, the sign went up in the front yard. We put an under contract sign on it almost immediately. We listed another house in the area. This is a list. This is previewing, remember? Then we had a buyer that bought in another area for $840. They referred their son, which was about a $250,000 purchase. And then we were able to send postcards out on this house. We listed another house in the neighborhood for 1.1. We sold it at $1,050,000. It failed to appraise. So this is how this happens, from previewing, you guys. One morning, like 3 hours, 5 properties. you're leaving your card, you're thanking them for your time, you're being upfront, you're not telling them you have a buyer, you're telling them that you're previewing. It makes you an expert. By the time we got to this house, we'd seen their competition. Their agent hadn't even talked to their seller in a couple months. She hadn't seen the competition. She showed up to list the property. So when you're taking a listing on the property or you're doing an open house at a property, you should know what your competition is. It positions you in a better negotiating. You have the power to negotiate once you do that. So previewing is very important. You know, if we were to do the math, $4.5 million worth of business times 3, that's $120,000. Is that worth 4 hours of your time? I hope so. So we still preview. We're not above previewing. Uh-oh. It does say dry erase. Anyhow, so that's all part of your negotiations, is being able to know what your competition is on the property. So feed your database, writing thank you notes, super important. I keep stamped return address cards on my desk. You can go in there right now. You'll see stacks of thank you cards, just postcards. I write thank you cards all the time, constantly, and they're ready to go. When I go out to a listing appointment, I've already addressed the card, my thank you card. It's in my briefcase. It's with my comps. So when I'm done and I'm in the car and I'm just leaving, I can write that thank you note. They'll have it the next day. So it's so important. I cannot tell you how many comments I get from people who say, that was so nice. I never get a thank you card. I never get anything handwritten anymore. So, okay, negotiation, we all know what this is. Bargaining, give and take process that you're seeking to reach an agreement. Here at Keller Williams, we always want the win-win or no deal. Have you all heard that? This is Keller Williams' attitude. We want win-win situations. We don't want we win, you lose. This was not this 1.38, this was not a we win, you lose. They had definitely preyed on that property. Prey as in an animal stalking another animal. They knew that they had to close on that property. I feel like they knew that it was a divorce situation and she was desperate. The other side of that, she had missed 3 house payments. So after 3 months, that notice appears. We no longer have negotiation power. So it was a gift. That whole deal was, we just got so lucky. So this is what we're doing. We're looking for win-win situations, not we win, you lose. Let's see. Price and terms. I would say terms are probably bigger issue than price. And if you don't believe me, ask yourself this question. How are these companies like Open Door and Purple Bricks and OfferPad, how can they attract sellers and be purchasing these houses? It's not about the money, it's about the terms. They're taking these OfferPad prices and these Open Door prices and these Purple Bricks prices that they're getting offered because they don't have to paint, they don't have to clean the carpet, they don't have to have any showings, they don't have to worry about their kids making messes or getting rid of their dogs in the afternoon when there's showings. They're taking less money for more favorable terms. So when I go on listing appointments, and I just went on one last week, before I go, I go online and I go to OfferPad and I put in the address and I say, send me an offer on this property. It has this kind of countertops and it has this kind of pool in it. This is the address. So you have to put in there like good, better, best on everything in that property. And so when you're doing that and you're submitting it, I got my offer back. It was like at $341, but there was $27,000 worth of, which was roughly 12% of the price in concessions from that seller. So their true number was closer to 317, I think. Maybe it was 323. Anyhow, I need to look at that number. But that's what that seller was gonna net, and then they still had to pay their escrow fees, any escrow fees. So I looked at that and I said, here's what I think we can get for your house, I think we can get $355 out of it in this market. What do you wanna do? You wanna take the offer pad price and not have any showings? Or do you want you wanna list at $365 and see if we can't get somebody because of the scarcity in this area? So you should be presenting that as part of your services when you're working with a seller.
Quick question. Wouldn't it be better for somebody to sell to open door without an agent? I mean, I know we're gonna fight for that, things like that, but are we gonna end up paying more to offer that, or I'm still confused.
If you already have the house listed and you go to offer pad, they won't pay you anything. If you go to offer pad prior to me listing it and putting it on MLS, they will pay me at 3%. Yeah.
When it's listed.
Right, before it's listed.
Before, yeah.
If you wanna get your commission, it has to be before. So, but that's all part of your negotiation. So I would say price and terms, I think it should read terms and price. Come on. Working. Okay, the 3 P's approach: prepare, present, and position. It's critical right now that you're positioning your property to, I always consider it has to appraise. It has to appraise. There are some very strong cash markets. Second home market is probably our strongest cash market, is the 55 plus. And that isn't even always cash. A lot of times in the 55 plus, it might be a seasonal owner, and they might have their farm or their house paid for back in South Dakota, and they're getting a loan from their bank to like just a short-term HELOC, home equity line of credit, against their house there to purchase for cash down here. So when we talk about positioning a house, certain houses you want to position for a cash sale, I'm always positioning my prices so that they will appraise. And that's just looking at the comps. Has anybody pulled comps on properties yet? You probably did. When you bought it.
Yeah.
Okay, so have you pulled comps on any? Okay, anybody in here not know what I mean? Okay, we're good. So I position the house to appraise. Right now, I sold a house and I went to the closing and then went to take my lockbox off the house, and they were just so happy. They were like, we love you, we need more business cards, and we would only do business with you, and thank you so much. And I said, hey, what about this house across the street? Every time I'm here, those 2 garbage cans are just sitting out there. And they said, we don't know, we think it's been abandoned, we've never seen anybody there for the last year. Oh really, you haven't? No, there were renters, or we don't know, maybe there were squatters. It's like, okay, on my way home, Harry, look up this address, see who owns it, get me a phone number. By the time I'm back down here, I've already contacted the owner of that house. He says, yeah, I want to sell it, I want it on the market by next week. I said, awesome, great. I had 9 offers on the house across the street. It was horrible.
Did he not have a realtor?
No, he did. He owns 25 houses. He wants to sell 3 of them. One in Caney Ranch, one off Miller and Scottsdale, not Caney Ranch, McCormick Ranch. And then this other one up in North Phoenix. Now, normally, I don't want listings up in North Phoenix, but to get 9 offers on a property on a Sunday was not a good time for me. I don't normally work on Sundays, but there you are negotiating what's the most favorable terms and going to net my client the most money. So I'm looking for an offer that is not likely to fail appraisal. So VA offers can be a little tricky sometimes, but they're also really strong buyers. Your sellers pay a little more money on a VA loan because they have to pay some of the costs that the VA will not pay. But so when I'm processing all these offers, I'm just labeling them. Number 1's the best, number 9's the worst. And here, what do you want to do? And some of them are so close. They're like a couple $100s off, which it's not worth it for a couple $100. take your most likely to close. So when I'm talking here about prepare, present, and position your listings to appraise. So look hard at those comps. Look at those non-MLS sales. I look at monsoon. I really go into monsoon and I say, I don't care if it was a for sale by owner. It will show you in monsoon if it was a flip, so you can understand how did they get the better price. You'll see those flips in there twice. You'll see that address twice, so you know what they paid for it and then what they sold it for. So it's all critical information that you balance when you're presenting to a seller for a listing. So keep your opinions and emotions out of it. I would say this is truer for a buyer. My buyer's agent was at a wedding in Tahoe this weekend, and I got to go out with her clients. I seldom get to show houses. It's not one of my favorite things to do, but these were referral. It was a son and daughter-in-law of a very good client and neighbor of mine. So it was fun to get to go out with them. But of course they're asking you your opinion. But you need to give not your opinion, but your knowledge is what you're passing on. And knowledge is black and white. Opinions are very colorful. So you're trying to give your expertise, but you're trying to be very unemotional about it. And they're going to ask you, well, what's going to be built over there? And what do you think? Is it going to be harder to sell that this one backs up to Greenfield? Well, yes, it is. And in my heart, I'm going, don't buy this one, don't buy this one, don't buy this one. This is going to have a ton of noise. The lights are on at the golf course. I mean, there were all sorts of issues with this one. But you know, oh, we love this. Write it up. I mean, those are music to my ears to hear that. But still, you are the professional. So you're giving them professional advice. It does not need to be your opinion. Or it doesn't need to be, I hate this neighborhood. And you will get asked questions that are very fair housing objects. Like, are there a lot of Catholics in this neighborhood, or LDS people, and do you know where the churches are? And I had one house listed, and we received 2 offers. And the seller, she's a hothead. She's so funny though. So she says to me, she goes, oh my gosh, I think this offer is from the mom of the people next door. She's like, it'll be a cold day in hell before I sell to those, this nationality. I just said to her, I said, you know, I'm going to hang up, and I'm going to let you 2 talk this over, and we're going to take a fresh approach to this tomorrow. Because I can't not sell to somebody because they're this nationality. And it happens. And she's had a horrible experience with these people. They party all night. They cook out in their backyard a lot. I mean, she's like, I can't stand these people. I'm not selling my house to them. The next morning I called and I said, this is your best offer by this much money. You're not going to be living here. What do you care? Make these people happy. Sell your house to them. Yeah, we thought about that. You're right. And I'm thinking, no fair housing violation for me. So that's part of it. You know, you want to keep your buyers and your sellers' opinions in check as well. Let's see. Page 16, do y'all have your books?
Had that not happened, would you have to tell them you can't represent them?
If they would have been insistent that they didn't want that nationality, I would definitely have advised them that that was a fair housing violation, and because they were listed with a realtor, that I could not let them choose, but they could certainly do it for sale by owner, and then they could choose, but they would sell with commission. So that just means that they want to be unrepresented. So if they would have sold to either of those offers that I had, that I procured during my listing agreement, they could still do it for sale by owner, but they would sell on commission. So for some owners, you can discriminate as long as you, you can still, they can choose, and it happens. You don't think it does, you think, who would ever do that? But the way it comes out is so benign. And you're like, oh my gosh, That's a total, I mean, I get asked that all the time. Where's a neighborhood with good this? Or where there's no this? And my answer is, I don't really know. I don't really pay attention to that. Yeah, don't do it. Just say, I don't know. I'll never forget, I got engaged and one of my girlfriends looked over at my engagement ring and she goes, oh my gosh, how many carats is that? And I just looked at her and I said, I don't know. I never asked. That shuts her down right away. And so that should be an appropriate response to somebody asking for something like religious-based or age-based, or I have people say, aren't there just a bunch of old people that live in this neighborhood? I don't know, I never asked. So, page 16, what do you have for a scenario? I don't believe that I have that. Or we can watch a video. You guys want to do a quick video here? Josh Anderson. Oh, come on.
It might be one of those remotes right there.
Thank you. Well, it ain't that one. And it's not that one. Seriously? Have you guys had trouble with the volume before? Have you guys been watching these videos?
Sometimes, but I think they do it from the computer somehow. I just don't remember how.
Let's go here. Oh, okay. Nope. Shoot.
Tell you what they need or want, and then
Look at
speak
me.
to their agent.
Okay, we're gonna start that again.
Hi, I'm Josh Anderson from Nashville, Tennessee. I've been with Keller Williams since 2006. 2014, we did about 200 transactions for about $60 million in volume. I grew up on a farm, so I've always seen my dad negotiating land and cows and horses. Being the youngest of four, and I'm trading and negotiating with the others, all growing up. So I've kind of done it all the time. Some people certainly gravitate toward it and are naturally better at it than others. But I think negotiations you definitely do learn. I think there's a lot of skills that go into being a great negotiator. I think it's learning your client. Instead of kind of assuming that you know what's important to them, really asking a lot of questions and letting them tell you what they need or want, and then speaking to the other agent and finding out what's most important to their client. And there's
I'm going to stop it right there because, again, it's not always about price. And when you're presenting an offer, I suggest that you call the listing agent and say, what's the most important thing? Well, their bottom line, that they can stay in the house through their baby's first birthday, or whatever their answer is. Find out what the most important thing. When I was a new agent, there was a listing. I had a pretty high profile client that very recognizable here in this area, and they wanted to buy this house, and this agent did a ton of business. It was Bonnie Dillon, and she was like the queen of real estate in Chandler, and it was a multiple offer situation. And I called and I asked her, tell me what the most important thing is to your client. When do your clients want to move out? Are your clients interested in leaving the pool table, or do they want to move it? And at the end of our very short conversation, she said to me, and I'll never forget this, she said, Barbie, she said, I like you. You're going to do well in this business. You are the only agent that called and asked what was important to my client. So she's gonna favor my offer. She's gonna want to do business with me. And that is so critical. You're not just negotiating with the seller or the buyer. As an agent, you need to build that rapport. I had another agent when I was in Minnesota, and she wrote an offer on a house after I explained to her that my clients were 90 and 91 years old and lived in Nebraska, didn't have a cell phone, didn't have a computer, didn't have a fax machine, and that I really needed 48 to 72 hours to get back to them. So she sends me an offer over. I get it at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm on vacation, and she wants a response by 5 o'clock. Okay, you think I want to work with her? No. I've tried to explain to her, we're going to need some extra time. I get that we live in this fast information age, but when I'm getting pushed with the offer, and it was a lowball offer, she said, well, it needs to be remodeled. So she wrote the offer for $40,000 less. I said, I'm so glad. Well, on a $180,000 house. That's a huge percentage. And she's, you know, it's 25% to the value of the home. And I said, I'm so thankful that your clients don't want to do a $100,000 remodel. Because then would you be offering 90? I mean, really, look at the comps. So I preferred not to do business. I didn't feel like it was in my client's best interest. So you're not just negotiating with the seller, you need to build that rapport. But when that agent said to me, you know, thank you for asking, and you can be brand new and at a total, you know, I remember feeling like I was at such a disadvantage. I didn't have the experience, I didn't have the knowledge, I wasn't sure I was saying things right, doing things right. But when you can build that rapport, even say as a new agent, you know what, this is one of my first transactions, I'm being guided by my broker, I have a mentor, tell me what I need to know. What do I need to know? What's important? And they will want to help you because we were all new. I mean, I would love to give a new agent a hand up at writing an offer. I had an agent send over an offer that put their own name in the offer. Like Barbie King will purchase a home warranty for the buyer from this company at a price not to exceed. Well, what if the buyer and the agent got into it and decided, I ain't buying a home warranty because they've asked me to reduce my commission again? Why would you interject yourself? We are not a party to the contract. Your name should only be on page 10 of that offer. It should not be written in the additional comments. It shouldn't be that you're contributing part of your commission to their down payment. Do not put your name on that. So I had to call that agent and say, please remove your name from this. You are not a party to the contract. And we just want to keep this clean. Oh no, he wanted to call me back and argue over it. I don't want to argue with you. I want a clean contract. Do you want to get your clients the house, or do you want to buy them a home warranty? Buy them a home warranty after the house closes. So anyhow, that's I wanted to stop that right there so you guys understood.
When I have an agent that I'm dealing with that's very tight-lipped, I just keep asking questions, and they give me information that they might not have otherwise given, whether it's a divorce or a death, or it's just they got relocated to some other city. And I think if you're really listening and being intentional and purposeful about listening, you'll find out exactly what's important to them or what they have to have. In certain situations, you have to be creative. We're always looking for that next little tip to help our clients out and win the deals. One of the techniques that we've used a lot that's worked well for us is the escalation clause. For example, if the property is listed at $250,000, we might go in at $250,000 with strong terms, and special stipulations we might put in there that we're willing to beat the next best documented offer by $1,000 up to $263,000. And the best offer might be $261,000, so we end up getting it for $262,000.
You guys understand that?
From a client standpoint, be willing to have a real conversation with your clients. It's not us just being realtors for them, it's us consulting and advising and really telling them, if you really want this property, here's what you have to do to get it. everybody's got a different way of how they would negotiate.
So when you're writing the offer and you're writing in an escalation clause, you're putting a cap on it. They have to show you that other offer. You can't just call them back and say, oh, our other offer was $265 and you said you'd pay $3,000 more. Great, send that offer over and you dissect it and make sure, well, is there a home warranty in there? You need to dissect it. But the escalation clause does work. My buyer's agent, Mary, has used that. And then so she just used it on a property up to $5,000. They accepted our offer. We went through the inspection period. We found that they had polybutylene plumbing. They had copper on the exterior, but inside and up in the attic was polybutylene. We got an estimate to repair it. We knew that the deal had fallen apart prior. They said they did not have a copy of the inspection report. I guarantee it was because of the polybutylene pipes. And we ended up back down $5,000. So
You can still do that.
Yeah.
Even after the clause.
oh yes, you can. You still have your vendor to negotiate, and you still have your appraisal.
Yeah.
And so you might be careful that you're not writing $5,000 over appraisal. You're writing $5,000 over, or $3,000, whatever your number is, over the next highest offer. If you put over an appraisal, that's a different horse race. So.
And networking with other Keller Williams agents around the country, the more you hear, more ideas, and then you end up gearing it towards you and what you think is going to work best for you and your clients. A lot of it comes down to experience, and I think the more deals you do, the more comfortable you get with it. If you can step back from every transaction and learn something, you're going to get really good over time.
And that's what we do at the end of every transaction. At our sales meeting, we'll say, boy, that closed, and what were the pitfalls of that? What did we learn? Not what did we screw up, because we do that too, but what did we learn? What would we do different? And you should be asking yourself that at the end of every single transaction. We're not perfect, and our buyers and sellers aren't perfect, and they are all unique. There are no two deals alike. I've taught real estate class that my son has sat in, and a couple of the people came up to my son and said, wow, you're so lucky, you already have all this knowledge. No, yes, he grew up in real estate and listening to me talk. The kid knew what a Benzer was when he was 8 years old. Mom, did they send the Benzer? I'm like, oh my gosh. But you learn from every transaction something. I've learned things about mobile homes and who could actually get their certificates. We were paying $500 for some of these certificates of eviction on a mobile home. We find out we can, years later, we can go down to Maricopa County and they can pull them and send them. There's your certificate. We don't have to pay $500 to a company in Vermont to do the research. It's just a phone call. So every single deal, and sometimes money's tight for the seller, and that $500 is important. So when you learn it, and just ask questions, what he said, just continue to ask questions. Don't continue to ask the same question over and over. But there are, like, what's your highest offer? Well, as the listing agent, I'm not going to tell you what the highest offer is. But there have been situations where I have said, does your number begin with a 2 and followed by a 5? There's been some conversations like, how do we get this information? So if I was to send over an offer at $255, do you think that would be your highest offer? Yeah, there's ways. And that's what he's saying. Just continue to ask a lot of questions. Read the scenario. Like I said, all scenarios are different. I had 9 offers. None of them were the same. There were a couple that were close, but you're penciling them all out. And I ended up just printing the offer, the first page of all the contracts, and just doing the math right on the page. And I scanned them all in and sent them off to my clients. And then I said, let's talk about this. Where do we want to be? Where do you want to be? And they're like, well, this one looks really good. Yeah, it does. But then let's look at these. They want a home warranty, and they want you to pay 2% of their closing costs, and So write your questions, share your questions when you're with your client. Identify tactics and counter tactics. So counter offers, do you all know that there's a multiple counter offer page? Like if you have multiple offers, you can counter more than one of them to try and get a better situation for your seller. Or you may be representing the buyer and get a multiple counter offer back. In other words, that seller has countered more than one of their offers. So
I didn't know you could do that.
Yep. It's spelled out nicely in zip forms.
So that way he basically picks whoever's gonna
Right.
work with him better.
So I have 9 offers. I may have narrowed it down to these 2 are so close, and I have done that. And I've said, okay, this offer is a little bit weaker, but let's see if we can get them to, if it's worth $3,000 more to them. And let's look at this offer. This is really the better offer, but let's see if that one's worth $3,000 more to them. So we send out multiple counter offers. It's on a multiple counter offer form, which tells that buyer that you're countering more than one. So they really need highest and best. But it's a way to not sell the house to 2 people and to really do the best, getting the most favorable terms and the highest return on their investment.
So,
Go ahead.
So if you counter offer 2 different counters, right?
Uh-huh.
Do you have to let those agents know that you're countering with more than one person?
The form itself across the top reads multiple counter offers, so they know that they're in a multiple counter situation. That form, it doesn't read counter offer 1 or counter offer 2, it reads a multiple counter offer. So they know when they're receiving it that there's been an offer extended to more than one buyer. So you really need to counsel your client, and that was kind of what he talked about too. You need to counsel, you need to prepare your client. In this price range, let me just tell you, we're looking at multiple counters or multiple offer situations. So I really want you to be realistic. When you make an offer, this is not lowball territory. This price range is not lowball. Maybe if you're in the 1.5 million or the 1 million or whatever that number is, that is maybe where you can write 10% less. But if you've got a first-time home buyer looking at $250,000 houses and they think that they're only pre-approved for 230, but they want to look in that range of 250 to 300, thinking that they can get somebody to 230, you need to counsel them and say, this is not the price range that we're seeing this happen. It just doesn't happen. And we don't want to waste your time. So should we stick with just looking at houses that are in that price range, maybe 250? Or if we're going to look the 250 to 275, we're going to look at something that's been on the market more than 60 days because there's something wrong with that. And then do you have the money to come in and replace the roof and water heater and redo the pool? Because guess what? If the appraiser calls out something on their appraisal that is going to put the buyer in a position of hardship. So in other words, they're writing an offer, they're asking, for example, a 3% contribution towards their closing costs. The buyer, let's say you're the buyer, you're the seller. So you're asking, you're gonna give them full price, she wants $250, right, for $230. And because that's all you're pre-approved for, so you write for $230. If they accept it, guess what? They're not gonna do any of the repairs. So your appraiser, when they go through, is gonna say there's multiple cracks in the pool, or the roof needs to be replaced, and the seller has to replace it prior to close of escrow, because my clients don't have the money to do it. And you know how you, as the listing agent, know that? Because why are you asking for a 3% contribution for your closing costs? This is a stretch for you. We recognize that. That's gonna put my seller in a position. Are you gonna come down another $7,000 to replace the roof? No, you're not, and you can't.
The bank probably wouldn't approve me anyway, right? Because
If the appraiser calls out things like that, and I've been called out by an appraiser for, one house had extended the eating area in the kitchen. And the appraiser wasn't sure that the concrete, when they added the concrete, had been properly tied to the main foundation. So you have to tie the rebar that goes in the concrete. We had to have a structural engineer out to prove that that had been structurally sound when they added that addition. So the appraiser called it out. Appraisers have called out swimming pools. We had one house in Tempe that it was a bank owned, and the buyer was doing financing. The fence in the backyard was a wood fence, and the storm had blown it down. There was no fence in the backyard on the back. There were sidewalls, but the back was down. No appraiser was going to approve that because of the pool ordinances. They had to sell that house with fence. So the bank, of course, is gonna look at an offer from a cash buyer or an investor where they don't have to pay to put a fence in. And the seller's gonna do the same thing. So it's not just that you have to get past the home inspection. If there are certain things that an appraiser will call out, and a roof is one of them, an air conditioner that doesn't work could be another one. So there are issues, pools, fences, additions. Okay. Page 21. Who's got page 21 open? What is that scenario? Do you want how big is it? Okay. Do you want to read that out loud?
The property has 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and is listed at $350,000 in a well-established neighborhood. The house requires a new carpeting throughout the first floor and a new garage door opener. 3 offers have been made, but all were below the asking price.
Okay. So, carpet and a garage door opener on the main level. How big was the house? 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, 347, well-established neighborhood. Your buyers are making an offer of $340,000, so $10,000 less than the list price for the house. They have been pre-approved. The buyers would like to close in the shortest time possible. Let's just go with 2 weeks because they're moving in from out of state. Since they are leaving their appliances in their current home, the buyers would also like all the appliances. Listing agent role. Your sellers have raised their family in the house. You're selling and have many friends and family in the area. Since their children are now grown, they no longer need the amount of space. And they purchased a home in Florida. Good for them. They'd like to give all appliances to their daughter who has just gone through a divorce. They will not be moving until they have sold their current house, and although they would like to get to Florida as soon as possible, they are ready to stand their ground regarding the price. So, 350 is the list in a pretty safe neighborhood. Let's go, let's say Arcadia. Do y'all know where Arcadia is? Downtown Phoenix, pretty hot neighborhood. And they have an offer at $340, and it needs carpet and a garage door opener. Anybody know what a garage door opener costs? So we've got 300, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Carpet, doesn't say the square footage, but 4 bedrooms, so I can guarantee 4 bedrooms worth of carpet.
But it only needs it on the first floor.
Right. So if we were to do, I'm gonna say 4,000 for carpet, 300 that we know that it needs up front. So they need to sell their house to go to Florida. They want to get the appliances. An appliance package probably in this price point is probably worth about $2,500 for just average person. And it will go up from there. So we're looking at about 7,000. Any thoughts? How are you going to get the seller and the buyer together on this? On this price, you've got a $10,000 disparity, and we're looking at about $7,000 worth of wants.
I would say that the buyer's offer is pretty close to
what?
Because they're offering 10,000 less.
Mm-hmm.
And then they need about 7,000 in repairs, right, on this thing, or budget. So maybe.
Not repairs.
Just
I'm not gonna
once.
call those, well,
Expensive.
Concession.
let's say that it's a 3-car garage and the single third car just didn't have a garage door opener. Let's say it doesn't need to be repaired. Let's say they just want a garage door opener on that 3rd-car garage. $300.
I just, like ask for maybe 5,000 more than what they're offering, or 3,000 more, maybe?
So you're saying the buyer should come up to 343.
Yeah.
So they're holding firm, right? On price, on sales price. Any other ideas?
Well, there's other offers coming in. This is just the one that your buyer has.
So I think I would say I'd offer them the full price and then ask them for 7,000 in concessions, and I would get all the money out of it.
So 3 offers have been made.
That way they still get their full
All are
price for
below,
there,
we
too.
don't know how much below, they could have been less than the 340, or it could have been more than the 340.
Right. So they have been declined, the market has declined that price of 350 3 times, right?
And they're not, they don't have to move right away.
They don't have to move. What do we know about today's market? Inventory is climbing, interest rates have gone up. Maybe our buyer pool is dwindling a little bit. Yes, they've had 3 offers, but all were below. So their house has been rejected by buyers 3 times. Was offers hard, that's a hard rejection. They have been told, your house is not worth this to us 3 times.
So this is a good offer then,
Possibly. So there's other variables, right? The other variables that we commonly see are HOA fees, right? I have one development, like Leisure World over here, they have a capital improvement fee of $2,000. Another development, $1,300. So HOA fees can be up around $2,000. By law, sellers pay disclosure fees, and it cannot be more than $400. So you're not talking about a huge sum of money, but you're not talking about a huge sum of money up here with this garage door opener either. So maybe you negotiate on some of these HOA fees, because a lot of times there's pride connected to the list price of a house, and it usually goes like this. Well, our neighbors across the street sold their house and they got $345,000 and their house was a dump. If ever, I hear that all the time. Or my neighbors told me, we hear this in the retirement communities because they're not real computer savvy. Oh, well, my neighbors got $250 for theirs, same exact floor plan. And then we look it up and we go, actually, your neighbors got $235. Oh no, they told us they got $250. Actually, let me just look that up. That's why I carry an iPad. Oh no, here it is. Oh yeah, $235. Because that pride is based on their expectation, and they're measuring against somebody else in the neighborhood. Oh, well, it's the same floor plan. Well, and our house is better. Our backyard faces south. I mean, there's all these things that go into it. So what can you really negotiate? HOA fees. You can negotiate contributions towards closing costs. So I'm just going to put closing cost contribution. And this can be anywhere from 1 to 3%. The other things that you can negotiate, of course, are bins or items. Appliances can be negotiated. I always put, if they want to leave their appliances, I always put them in my ER, my listing paperwork, where you check the box, refrigerator, washer, dryer. But I don't always put it in the listing. Because let's say I get a Binzer that says, we'd like $1,000, and they didn't include the washer dryer. Let's say they didn't include the washer dryer. And we've got bins or items, $800 worth of things that need to be repaired. Well, maybe my clients, I already know they don't want the washer dryer. So I go back to the agent and I say, I tell you what, they're out of state, they don't wanna do all these repairs, how about they just leave the washer dryer? Oh, awesome, thank you. The $800 just disappeared. So there are other things to negotiate. Now these people, what do we know about them? They wanna get to Florida. But our buyers, they are moving from out of state, they need a place, right? So how do we negotiate with the close of escrow date? That can always be, we know that they have a daughter, so maybe we say we can close in 2 weeks. We can close in 2 weeks for you. Taxes, the proration from the taxes, the proration from the HOA fees, any of those other items, those have a monetary effect. Staying in your house longer until you get your price. So if I were to look at this and say, well, you've been on the market for 3 months, and we know that your HOA fee is $300 a month, and times 3 plus your taxes of, maybe who knows what your taxes are. I mean, let's say your taxes are $300 a month. There's $1,200, and we're apart $10,000. Look, we can close this in 2 weeks, and we'll even let you stay there for an extra 2 weeks until you can move to Florida, or whatever the case is. So there's all sorts of other things that you can negotiate with. Me, on a situation like this, they want $350, they've been rejected 3 times already. I'd be picking at that agent that has that listing and saying, so is our offer better than the other 3? Well, yeah, but the other people were crazy. Really? All 3 of them? And us? So you're like, $10,000, it does need carpet. Carpet is cosmetic. So how we get past the carpet and the paint, super easy with men to do this analogy. It's like a car. You have to change the oil in your car, and you have to change the tires on your car. So I usually compare carpeting to tires, and I usually compare paint to oil. Those are maintenance things. Those are the cost of owning, or brake pads, or whatever it is. I've had to break it down. Look, if we had 2 trucks and one had new oil and new tires, are you gonna pay more for the one with new tires and fresh oil? It doesn't really make that big of a difference. Maybe you really want a red truck instead of a blue truck, and it doesn't matter if it has new tires. So if you break it down to this being a maintenance issue, this kinda isn't, but it's pretty small potatoes. But carpet $4,000, and appliances, which is another $2,500, I would be maybe coming up a hair, $242. And be realistic with what those 3 things are gonna cost you. So, but to go back to a listing agent and say, well, it needs new carpet and paint, what house doesn't? I've had people buy houses with brand new carpet and paint. A flip, first thing that goes is the carpet and paint. So this doesn't have a value. And I'll go to listing appointments where people will say, oh, we just totally remodeled. Okay, tell me about your remodel. We just put brand new carpet, and we put laminate in 2 of the bedrooms, and we did it ourselves. And you're like, oh Lord.
That's what Open Door does. They
Yes.
do new carpet and paint. They
Yeah.
have both sides.
Yeah. So this doesn't have a huge value in this price range. New carpet maybe has more of a value in the 200. When you're going to have a buyer that maybe needs closing cost assistance, that's going to be at a higher value, because are they going to have $4,000 to put new carpet in if they don't have the money to come in for the down payment? So I would first start negotiating on some of these other deals and the appliances. Okay, can you give the daughter the refrigerator and leave the washer dryer? I mean, they're about the same, $1,200 for a refrigerator, $1,200 for a washer dryer. So I would negotiate on that, and I wouldn't come up a whole lot because they've been rejected 3 other times. So the market has told them that their house is overpriced. And hopefully their agent is getting the message that they've had 3 offers less probably significantly. If you can't pull a deal together that's only $10,000 apart, and I'll say that to the other agent. Look, you and I can't pull a deal together that's only $10,000 apart, we need to go into another business. And that puts them on the page of, okay, we need to figure this out, right? And that's not insulting to either one of us, it's just saying, in this price point, I mean, now if you're talking a $70,000 house, that's a little bit different, but on the 350, and my answer to that, I'd start negotiating on a few of these other variables, and then I might go back a couple $1,000 more. Because they've already been schooled. Any questions? Any other ideas? Okay, page 23. What do we have on page 23? Prepare and present counter offer. So maybe this is on that same scenario, or is this a different scenario? Okay, your client just found a house that they loved. Somebody want to read this? Would you read this for me?
Yeah. Your client has found the house they love, and it's in the neighborhood they want. It is at the top of their price range and does need some work updating the kitchen and master bathroom. Your client makes an offer on the property, and the seller's agent says, I must warn you that we have gotten several offers and your offer is pretty low. And then you want me to read the listing?
Sure.
Your seller needs to move within 45 days due to a job transfer. You feel that you have priced the house competitively. You are aware the house needs updating, but the sellers don't see the need because the house was just fine for them.
Which is so common.
There has been multiple offers. The other offers are still standing, but the timing may not work for the seller, and the latest offer is lower than the asking price. You have let the buyer's agent know. I must warn you that we have gotten several offers, and your offer is pretty low.
Okay, so that's going to be a standard response. Let's say I have 5 offers. I'm saying that same thing to every single one of them, right? Unless I have a full price offer. So as a listing agent, that's my job, to get the highest return and the most favorable terms. So that's pretty standard response. I must warn you that we've gotten several offers. It just says my sellers need to move within 45 days due to a job transfer. I feel, as the listing agent, I got the right price. When people come in and they see deferred maintenance, like let's say it's carpet, let's say it's paint, let's say that the grout is filthy dirty, let's say that the dog has chewed up the baseboards. But still, in a very desirable area, did we not start? The house that they love, and it's in the neighborhood they want. The top of their price range, and does need some work updating the kitchen. Kitchen is huge. Kitchen and master, those are the 2 most important rooms of any house. You can figure easily on a kitchen. And like granite, appliances, countertops, you're looking at 18 grand on a kitchen. Anybody feel like that number is off? 18. So, and that's even for the China line of cabinets, you know, soft close, dovetail, but those, they come over from China. Still a great product. I've used them in my remodels. So 18 grand, you're throwing in, you know, new cooktop, new microwave. You want everything to match. And trust me, I've sold houses where we've got a black this, a beige that, a white here, and look at our new microwave. It's brand new, it's stainless steel. And you're like, oh my gosh. It looks like somebody went to a garage sale and did the kitchen. So those are the most important rooms of a house. When I'm guiding people on what they can update before they put their home on the market, it is always focused on the kitchen and the master bathroom. biggest. So you've got two really big items. Most likely, yes, they have received these other offers, but they are not what they want, not that full price offer. So what do you guys think you would do as a counter offer? Any ideas? Didn't really give a price, did it?
No.
I would definitely include, the closing the closing date that they need for the sellers, accommodate them if the buyers can. 45-day closing or whatever. That's something that sellers need to have.
That's gonna be important, because you're gonna have to ask, what will happen if this house doesn't sell in 45 days? That's where I would be taking my seller as the listing agent. Okay, so this isn't the price that you want, but your terms are pretty important. You need to be in Seattle in 45 days, and your kids enrolled, and all this other. What's more important? That you take this job and get your kids into school and get moved with the least amount of stress, or is it more important to get $10,000? Let's just say that that's our number. Well, that would be my first negotiating tool, is we've had other offers. Yes, the price is pretty low, but how long has it been on the market? It doesn't really say that.
Well, like we said before, the longer they wait, the more money they're losing. So, in the end, it would be better to just take the lower offer and get out of your home so you can move within your 45 days.
Or you could even close early and let them stay in the house a couple more weeks, give them the money that they need, because they're probably gonna be buying a house where they're going. That's a huge relief to people, is to have that money. Okay, we've sold the house. That comfort, that being able to sleep at night is huge. Instead of that, we don't know what school our kids are going to. We don't know how far we're gonna be living from our new job. We don't know what neighborhood we're gonna be able to afford. So if I had somebody that was relocating, I would say, let's push this to close in 4 weeks, get you your money, and get to Seattle, wherever, I'm making this up, but get to where you're going and start looking for your new house. Being able to sleep at night is worth a lot to people.
And then you refer them to another agent.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and again, are we dealing with somebody that the market has rejected that price? And the agents, as a listing agent, I'm not gonna tell you that. I'm gonna say, oh my gosh, we've got 3 other offers. I got fortunate one time on a house. We'd had this offer, and then we countered, and then the buyer countered, and we countered back, and all of a sudden there was a showing. And it was a brand new agent, and that agent said to me, I think we're gonna be sending over an offer today. I said, wow, that's quick, your first day out, this house is 1.8 million. Look at you go. I'm thinking to myself, there was no other offer coming from that agent, but it gave me the ability to honestly tell, oh, by the way, we received another offer. Or we're receiving, or I had an agent show it, and they said they're going to be sending over another offer. As a new agent, don't do that. Don't ever say, I think we're going to send an offer. So, unless it's in your hand and you're waiting for the facts to warm up.
So could it backfire when you say to people, well, I have several other offers? Could it backfire where they're gonna be like, well, we don't want to compete, so we're just
Yes.
get out of it?
Yes. Yes. And it does happen. We don't want to be, tell us if that other offer doesn't work out. We don't want to be in a bidding war.
Yeah.
We do hear that. So you should get permission from your seller in a text. Can I disclose that we have another offer? Can I disclose that we are most likely going to be receiving another offer? You want to get permission, and you want to tell your seller, this could backfire on us, because some people don't want to be in a bidding war. And it has happened to me. And they say, well, call us if that one doesn't work out.
Yeah.
But only do it honestly. I would not posture.
Don't bluff.
No, because you will feel like crap if you're bluffing and they walk.
Well, I initially was gonna put an offer in on a house, and the guy said, well, we just got an offer in, and you can do a backup offer, and I was like, no, I'm good, I'll keep looking.
The backup offers, okay, so as newer agents, I would recommend that you show any houses that are the UBC with a contingency. So out of those 9 offers on that property, we accepted one with a contingency, okay? Why did we do that? I had 9 offers. I had one that was cash, but it was $20,000, $18,000 low. So why would I accept an offer with a contingency? Because when I called that other agent, she said, in the attachment, I already sent you the other offer on their house. We've been through the inspection period, we've negotiated the VINSR, and the lender is going to call you. I gave him your number. Is that okay? Man, she had her ducks in a row. I wanted to work with that agent. So I got requests to show that property even though I was under contract. And what I said to that other agent was, good for you. I hope your client knows how hard you're working for them. And they were always like, oh, thank you. Because this looks like a pretty solid offer, and they've given me permission to show this one day a week, and we can show it on Thursday. But I just want you to know I'll have 3 other people lined up to show as well. Because I would love a backup offer. Our backup form from Zip Forms, when you're writing an offer, is fantastic. That contingency form is fantastic. So if I have an offer and I've accepted it as a contingency, let's say I get another offer. Okay, I'm under contract with you, but your buyer has to sell, and they're not under contract. The sign just went up today. And you send me an offer. We've been under contract with her a week. You come through, because I still want to show the house. I'm looking for a backup offer. You come through and you've got a cash buyer or somebody with 20% down, and you can close in 30 days or less. And so you go through it, your clients love it, send me an offer, and I say, okay, I take your offer, and I come over to you, and I said, we have another offer. You have 3 days to remove your contingency and proceed towards a close of escrow, and we'll refund, we'll keep your earnest money unless you choose to back out of this deal. We'll refund your earnest money, but we're going with this deal over here. So that contingency form is phenomenal. It is so well written, and it spells out exactly what has to happen. So once I've given you notice that I have another offer, I can cancel. And that's why you should be showing offers with contingencies. And I'll be honest, a lot of agents don't understand it, but it is, for me, it's plain as day. It explains it. It's actually a 2-page form, and it can be contingent upon a successful close of escrow. In other words, the house is already under contract. The buyer has their house under contract, and we're just waiting for a successful close of escrow. Or you can, the first part is contingent upon selling. So the house may not be on the market, and it may not be under contract. And then it specifies what days certain things are gonna happen. So in other words, I'm accepting an offer with a contingency that they have to remove the contingency by September 15th, or whatever day you designate. So if you have a buyer that's in a really fast-moving market, so if I knew that their house was in like a really hot neighborhood, like Valvista Lakes, for example, and it's gonna be listed at $200,000, I know I have a serious seller. So your buyer is a serious seller. So would I be more apt to take that offer than somebody who is trying to sell in Eloy or wherever? I mean, not that that's a seller market. I don't know, but you know, yeah, like Torian. I was just in Torian this weekend. Oh my gosh, every other house in that neighborhood is for sale. I mean, if it was contingent upon one of those selling, I'd be like, I'm so sorry, good luck.
Right.
Yeah. And you hate to have your house off the market for a contingency. I mean, we have contingencies that are just part of the deal. We have the appraisal contingency, we have the inspection contingency, the due diligence contingencies. So we have those anyways, but to add one where you have to sell a house, you better make sure that your buyer who has to sell has got their actions pretty high and tight, and that you're talking to that other agent. So when is the sign going up? So send me the comps on that house. And they should be trying to do that. Look, this is where we're pricing, these are the comps, and my buyers have a brand new pool, and, you know, you're getting the
So I
sweat.
have a question,
Mhm.
just out of curiosity, if you yourself were to get a cash offer as opposed to, you know, a loan offer, would you always go for the cash offer because those are easier, or?
No, they're all, in my opinion, it's all cash. It really, if I have somebody that needs a lot of action to happen, for example, part of their down payment is gift money. If I have a buyer that's asking for a contribution, that's gonna be sketchier, with a contingency. I mean, some offers are cash with a contingency. We need the cash out of this house to buy this one. It's still a cash offer, but it's still contingent. So even those offers, have a downside to them as well.
But they can close faster, right, when it's a cash deal as opposed to a loan?
Generally, so in our second home market, we have a very strong cash market. If I had a house in a 55+ community that was a cash offer, it probably wouldn't make a big difference, but if it was a condo, because condos have to, and that was a cash offer, that would be a little bit different to me. You know, the HOAs
Condos are a
don't
little
act
bit different when it comes
actively.
to lending, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what we learned the other day.
Right, well, and, like, there's a 55+ community that has 14 different HOAs within one community, right? It's called Fountain of the Sun. Some of them are healthy HOAs, so they're contributing to their reserve funds, and some of them aren't healthy. They don't understand what a reserve fund. They keep very loose records. They have parties by the pool all the time. They don't have enough in their reserve to cover what that HOA covers, which is insurance, roofs, painting, water, grass. I mean, their numbers are out of line. So when you're working in an area and you know that, you're gonna be a little
How
more.
would you know that? Did they give you that breakdown when you go into an HOA?
There's a disclosure, but you will find out by asking the listing agent. So is this a healthy HOA?
So
In
you
your experience.
you normally do ask.
Oh, I know, oh, yeah. How's this HOA? Have there been any assessments? Can you send me the spuds? Because that's gonna say whether there's been any assessments or any upcoming assessments, so you find out. Assessments are not good. When you see a history of assessments in a homeowners association, to me that says you've been poorly managed. You need to add an assessment because you don't have the money in your reserve, so that's what I look for. Have there been any recent assessments or any upcoming assessments? That's a red flag. Any assessments are no bueno.
See, and I didn't even realize that as an agent, that you had to know that about the HOA like that.
Well, and that's why Keller Williams does these classes, is, you're talking to agents that are, I mean, we're out there in the trenches, you know, Tia's teaching these classes, Kevin Berry, we're out there in the trenches and we see this stuff, and that's what we wanna share with you. These are red flags, so just remember that. You see stuff like that, and let's say you have a VA buyer, which is common in retirement communities because they wanna use their VA certificates if they can. So it's not that they maybe need to, they could possibly pay cash, but money's cheap, 4%, 3.5%, that's still cheap money. So, also, they can write it off, you know, you can write off the interest in your taxes. So even though you might have a cash buyer, we have a cash buyer right now at a $750,000 house, and we are telling him, no, do not pay all cash for this. Let us get a pre-approval for you, because it's not a fast-moving price range. Let us get a pre-approval with it just showing that you're putting 10% down. Because I want that seller to wiggle. I want them to feel like, I mean, a cash buyer, they're not gonna wiggle, oh, we're $60,000 over list price and we got, I mean, my client can pay it, but I want them to know that it has to appraise. And a 20% down is a different buyer than a 10% down buyer. So if I want that seller to wiggle, I don't want that pre-approval that says my buyer's only gonna finance $250,000. I don't wanna write that offer. Now, what you should know about writing an offer is you can, as the buyer's agent, change the terms of the financing or how they're paying for the house, as long as it doesn't affect the seller. Do you know that? Okay, you have to give them written notice, you don't have to get permission, you just have to notify. So how that works in a negotiation scenario is back when we had bank owned, and we're seeing bank owned again. So we had bank owned, and you can look and say, well, who foreclosed on this house? Okay, this is Wells Fargo, for example. Wells Fargo now owns this house. So my buyer does business with Chase Bank, done business there for years, has 7 accounts there, blah, 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 loves Chase Bank. What am I gonna ask him? He can pay cash. He wants to pay cash. He's like, I'm paying cash. I'm gonna tell him to go get approved by Wells Fargo. Why? That loan is worth more money, that sale is worth more money to that owner because they are Wells Fargo, right? So why would I send him a pre-approval for Chase? They're gonna make money on the loan if I get him pre-approved through Wells Fargo. Does he have to stay with Wells Fargo? No. Can he switch to cash? Yes, he can pay cash. All we have to do is notify him, oh, and by the way, we're gonna pay cash for the house. So they've accepted our offer. This happened to me over on a property on Mission Cove. It was bank owned. They had rejected our first offer, which was a cash offer. And we waited about a week and it was still on the market. We went back with a lower offer and we wrote the offer through Wells Fargo. And and it wasn't Wells Fargo, it was it was a weird company. But I got him pre-approved through that company, resubmitted an offer for a lower price point. They accepted it. And then he actually was somewhat intentioned that he would get some financing on it, but he got tired of the rigmarole with that company and sending him this and sending him that. So he's like, I just want to switch back to cash. Yep, no problem, let me just notify him. So there we got the house for less. So that is a big negotiating term as well. Don't overlook that, especially with bank owned.
Because once they accept, even if you change how they're gonna pay, they can't cancel. They
No.
can't say-
Not unless it affects them. So for example, let's say you switch to VA, that's gonna affect the seller. So you can switch to VA, but you better up your price a little. Yeah. VA would be the biggest one, or if it's then gonna affect the close of escrow date, let's say you switch from cash to financing the week before close, pretty good odds that you're not going to get that closed within 7 days. So your listing agent's probably gonna be panicked. And are we still gonna be able to close it? My clients have to stay in the house another 3 weeks, that's gonna cost me this much more HOA, this tax, this. Yeah, so there's issues with that too. But it's a great tool to use when you're negotiating, know who your seller is and what that means to them. Close of escrow dates are always important. If you have a buyer that's getting financing, you don't want to make a lease a part of that contract, or as a buyer's agent, you don't want to write that in there. Oh, and we'll let you write it in the contract. Oh, we'll let you stay in the house for 2 weeks for, $750. Don't write that in the contract, because the lender is basing your buyer's interest rate on being a primary residence. If they see that you're gonna lease it back, they're gonna say, is this an investment property? That's a higher interest rate.
To write an addendum for that.
No, an addendum is also part of the contract. You wanna write it completely separate, a lease, and don't reference it in your contract.
What about home insurance when it comes to doing that? Because isn't it, when you get your home insurance policy, they're basing it on being your primary residence, not a rental? Does it affect? Because I might be in the same situation here.
Okay, so generally we have the person that's staying in the house continue to carry insurance. If the buyer's getting financing, they can line up their insurance starting on this date. So not the close of
Okay.
escrow date, maybe 2 weeks down the road.
So it's just a conversation between the buyer and the insurance companies when their insurance policy is gonna start.
Exactly.
And then notifying the sellers that they need to continue their insurance policy until
Correct.
the end of the lease. And you're just writing out a lease,
A
a
lease
standard
agreement.
residential lease after the fact.
Even if it's for $10, like that scenario that I just showed you, I had a lease agreement in place because that's what protects my client as well as their client.
And then what about notifying the lender? Anything you have to do with?
The lender's gonna wanna know that you have insurance, so usually after close of escrow or prior to close of escrow, you have to show that, there is insurance. If you don't present that, usually within 45 days, the, lender is going to put their own insurance on it. They're gonna send you a bill for it. By the way, we're charging you $200 per month because you haven't
But
provided insurance.
so does the lender need to know that you're leasing it out for a
No,
couple
I
of
would,
shares?
I would not do that.
Okay.
We
They don't
do
have
that.
to know. They
If it does, it will affect your interest rate. Your lender will charge you a higher interest rate because they are going to think that you're using the property
yeah.
instead of post-possession. There's post-possession and there's a lease. I would rather, personally, if it's for more than a couple weeks, I would like a lease. I want a lease in place.
What's post-possession?
Post-possession just means, like, say it closes on Friday and they need till Sunday to get out, it means that the sellers are in possession of the property.
And that's a separate document that would.
Yes, there's a post-possession agreement. Jim hates them. Hates them. And I don't love them either. I had a closing recently where the buyer needed to be out of their house and wanted to bring over their trampoline early and put it in the backyard. Well, hey guys, it's monsoon season. How many trampolines have you seen going down the highway or the road? I've seen them. They're great kites. So did I want that buyer to bring over the kids' trampoline a week early? No. So we didn't want to be responsible for it if it took off. So that's another case of, there's kind of a prepossession almost. I would never allow prepossession. Ever, ever. Don't do it. There should be books written about people who've allowed prepossession. One of my buyer's agents, hairdresser, got prepossession on a house. And they went in, tore the tile out, put new tile, painted. They were like, yes, we got this house 10 days early. They never got their loan pulled together. They had to move out of that house.
So did she lose the money on the tile, I'm assuming?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and shame on that agent. Don't, really, you guys, don't ever allow prepossession. It's somebody
Well,
can hurt themselves, houses
Right.
burn down.
I was gonna say, the lease agreement though.
On a pre-possession? No, I wouldn't.
And then the other thing is, if you do the lease agreement, don't they have to file it as a rental with the county?
I would, not for a short term. There's a form that they send out to, even a second home, there is paperwork that you have to file for that. But for a short term, we don't do that. A week or 2 weeks, no. It's
Like,
really
what's the
not a
non-rental?
rental, you're doing the lease paperwork to protect the parties, both parties. Just, like who owns the refrigerator, who owns the, yeah, cause there, even, post-possession is fraught. Okay, so your sellers are gonna move out in 2 weeks. You do the final walkthrough before the house closes with your buyer. Okay, everything looks fabulous, it's just like it did when we showed. But then 2 weeks after the house closes, the sellers move out and they take the cornices because they match the bedding and the shower curtains come down and where'd the rods go and all of a sudden here you are, well wait a second, we signed off on the final walkthrough, but now 2 weeks later the people move out and where's the fountain that was in the front yard? Or where's the washer dryer? We've had people go to Vegas with the washer dryer, we're like, bring the washer dryer back. Oh, well, was that written in the contract? Oh yeah, it's definitely. Well, can't we just send you $200? No, because it's gonna cost $1,200. what do you wanna do? You wanna come back from Vegas, bring that washer and dryer, or you want to order a new one from Spencer's for my clients? So that's why when you're writing an offer, you should put, Whirlpool, washer, dryer, Maytag, and put the kind. We've had that happen. Where, oh, well, the new house that we're buying has this really old washer dryer, so we're gonna bring that washer dryer over here and we're gonna take our new Samsungs. Happens all the time. So you might want to, when you're writing an offer, put that washer dryer, Samsung washer dryer as seen on that date. And you can usually reference photographs for that, but if you're writing an offer, and it's happened to us. And it's usually a lack of communication from the listing agent. Like, okay, this offer, they are asking for the washer dryer. You good with that?
Do you think that adds more value to the home when it's a better, like a new time, that I would want?
Not really. No, it's a convenience factor. But some people, I met some people, women, oh, my washer dryer's the best, and I would never use that. So you're like, okay, bring yours.
So I have a question. So as a listing agent, would you advise your client to take out the washer and dryer before somebody comes and previews the home?
No, but I would advise them, I mean, it's on the plan. Washer dryer hookup only, or washer dryer is included. It's on the MLS planner. Now remember, as a listing agent, I always put washer dryer hookup only, even if my seller's intent is to leave them, because I want to save that as something I can negotiate with. So you can write out the washer dryer, you can write out the refrigerator. I figure it's worth a couple grand. If I know I'm going to have an issue with some deferred maintenance in the house, I'm doing hookup only. It's just, okay, how about we leave the refrigerator, washer, dryer, and you guys take care of that $1,000 worth of Benzor things, and we call it good. Awesome, great idea, thank you. And close the deal.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes you're gonna get caught where the seller's gonna be like, I don't want that washer dryer. And the buyer's like, I don't want that washer dryer. So there's places to call and they come and pick it up, or, yeah, we have a Facebook page for the communities that we service. Take a picture of it, stick it in there, pick it up by this date, and we get our sellers $200. Here you go, here's the money from the washer dryer. So, all right, I don't know what we're doing here. So that's the counter offer situation, like how you can counter, what you can use to counter. Now, boilerplate in our contracts, there's a whole quarter of a page, and it rolls on bottom of page 1 to page 2 of things that need to stay with a property. Things like shower curtains, outdoor spas need to stay, fountains disappear. Some people take rose bushes, prize winning rose bushes. Those things need to be clear in some form of writing if your sellers want to take it or your buyers want it. We see a lot of personal property, and we allow that verbiage on a cash sale, but we do not allow it on finance. If somebody sends me an offer on a finance property and they want all the furniture as seen in the house, I'll make them send a new page 9 or a new page 8. Remove that. We'll do that on a separate bill of sale. Send me a clean page 8. So any finance offers, you want them to take out personal property. And I'll tell you why. So I had $1 million house up in Los Angeles for sale, or whatever, maybe it was $1 million plus, but we're under contract at $1 million. And they have a movie theater. And the movie theater has all that, fancy motion seating, and there's a pull down screen, and there's tables and popcorn makers, but it's a movie theater. And my client didn't want it. They were downsizing. The kids had gone to college, and we're under contract at $1 million, right on the button. And so I tell my sellers, be gone when the home inspector is here. You want your sellers to leave for that process, because the buyers are going to show up, and that's when a lot of these side deals happen that you don't know about. So it happens with an appraiser too. So you want your sellers to be gone. Well, I had a very high ego seller, and his house was worth 1.2 a year ago, 1.4 2 years ago, and now he was selling and he was only getting $1 million, and that was everybody's fault but his. And so we have this beautiful movie theater, and he's not taking any of it with him. They're downsizing into a patio home, and I couldn't talk him off the wall. And like when they're doing the home inspection, just please leave. Oh no, I'm not feeling good, I'm gonna stay home, the wife. Oh my gosh, she hated those buyers. Didn't like the way she dressed, didn't like the jewelry she had on, way too much perfume. Who did she think she was? And she was talking about changing this and that in her house. It was extremely offensive. So we finally calm her, and it happens, and it is going to happen to you. So we calm her down. A week later, here comes the appraiser. Please be gone when the appraiser's there. Oh no, I'm gonna be home. Okay. So the appraiser comes in, and it's Le Grand Tour. And we get to the movie theater, and again, we're under contract at $1 million, and he walks in and he goes, I spent $20,000 on all this equipment. All this furniture was $10,000, and the popcorn maker and the refrigerator, and we're leaving all of it. We're leaving the screen thing the projector. Yeah, I mean, he is loud and proud and just wouldn't shut up. And I wasn't there, but of course, we get our appraisal. Guess how much our appraisal comes in?
Over $1 million.
$980.
Yeah, 20 less.
Exactly. $20,000 less, because that seller made the appraiser aware that it was $20,000 worth of projection and seating and tables and refrigerators, and look at all this equipment. I spared no expense, and I'm leaving all my personal property for the buyers. So I get the appraisal back at $980,000, and I knew immediately. What did you say to the appraiser? That asshole. That's what came out of his mouth, of course. It wasn't his fault. It was the appraiser's fault. So the buyers are saying, our contract reads that we'll pay appraised value, and you need to reduce the price. And the seller says, well, I'm not reducing the price. I'm leaving all this extra stuff. You're gonna have to write me a check for $20,000. Well, we all know, put an ad in the paper, you're not gonna get 20 grand for that. You'd be lucky to get 6. So the true value was closer to 6, but here he shared. So I couldn't negotiate my way out of that deal. My seller would not budge. I couldn't get him to stay out of the house. It was just like, you've got to be kidding me. That guy they were their own worst enemies. So to try and negotiate that $20,000 credit was not gonna happen. That buyer had that seller right where he wanted him, and that seller couldn't get out of his own way. And there was nothing I could do, like call for a second appraisal. There was nothing I could do.
What about, appeal?
We couldn't appeal the appraisal. All the comps were what they were. He had great comps. When you appeal an appraisal, it has to be on something. Like, because you didn't use this, or because you went 3 miles outside instead of using these ones right here. I mean, if you're gonna appeal an appraisal, don't forget, you're insulting that appraiser didn't do his job. That appraiser did his job. My seller couldn't get out of his own way.
So then they had to sell for $980.
No, he didn't sell. I had to resell that house to somebody else, who then found out, that the roof was bad. It was a mess. But anyways, so those are things that sometimes, and what our team says is ego kills all deals. If you have a high ego client, or they are so vested in, well, my house is better than theirs, and they got this, or, ego kills all deals. When you have somebody's ego get in the way, it's not about the money, it's not about anything other than their own pride, and it happens. I had a house that I owned and lived in for a couple of years, and the gal that bought it just loved it, and we became very good friends, and she loved the house as much as I did. And I had a buyer for it, and my buyer wanted to go back over, and so my buyer's agent took the buyer back over there, and gee, could she bring her contractor. I was like, okay, make sure that the seller's not there. Oh, the seller was there. Killed the deal. She's like, I am not selling to these people. They want to tear this wall out. They want to redo these floors. I just put those floors in. I don't care if they like it or not. It's insulting to them. Like, I chose this. So ego kills all. I would keep buyers and sellers as far away from each other as possible. And they all think, oh, I just want to meet him. I just want to give him this. And you're like, my cowboy wife, horseback riding down to earth is going to hate it when, you know, your blinged out, you know, ostrich boot buyer comes in.
Actually,
It's not
I
gonna
got
work.
to meet the seller on my house.
When? At what point?
Before we did the inspection, before all of that, because the realtor, her realtor,
The
like I
neighbor.
said, yeah,
The free neighbor.
he was like, oh, just call her. So he didn't really have much to do. I know, so I did.
But he
but
wasn't
she was
getting
a
paid,
sweetheart.
right? So he didn't need to
Well, he was
photograph.
giving me very little, but anyway, I did meet her, and she asked me if we would change anything, and I told her no, but we are planning on changing stuff.
Good
I just
answer.
didn't wanna, you know,
No,
I
they
didn't wanna
love it.
insult her
Just
in any
tell
way.
it
I
is.
told her that, I said, we love the place just the way it is.
Yeah, always say that.
Yeah.
Great advice. Don't ever say, oh, they're gonna gut it. Kiss it out. Yeah, oh, I can't wait to
I mean,
have
cause
it.
at that point, it doesn't matter, she's not in the house anymore anyway. and
It
I
does
got my
though,
home, you know?
it does, because you've insulted their taste. I have a listing
Sure.
over in Breckenridge Bay right now, and the sellers, they're lovely people. They've lived everywhere in the Caribbean and Central America and Guatemala. They've done these missions all over the place. So she buys this condo, and I should show it to you. I think it is so cute, and they've used it as a VRBO until they decided to sell their big house, and they were going to downsize into this one. Well, he's 80 years old. He just got sent on another mission to like Central America or some darn place, and so the people that are coming through the house are telling me, oh, it needs a total gut and remodel. She just put 3 years ago all beautiful Sautil tile floors. Now, Sautil is classic. You know what Sautil tile is? I should pull up this listing. Let me see here. Sautil is like what you see in those Spanish colonial houses. It's like a brownish red color. And the whole house is decorated with like bright colors, and to me it's so cute, and it was a great VRBO. I mean, I read the guest book. People are loving this house and how beautifully decorated, because of course they're coming from New York or Minnesota, and they're like, oh, we're in Arizona, you look at this. And anyhow, I mean, most of the people that have looked at this house are telling me, oh, it needs updating. That Sautil tile, that's so old. No, it's brand new.
As far as letters, when there's multiple offers, do you recommend your buyers to write letters too?
Yes.
Personalized?
Okay, funny story. There's, so I'm getting, 8, 9 offers, and I said to all the agents, do you write a cover letter? And, there was one agent that he's been in the business as long as I have. He goes, oh yeah, I always write a cover letter. I was like, awesome, thank you, send that over. And because, it might set somebody apart in a good way, and it could also backfire. So, I had some beautiful cover letters with a picture of the family, and retired military, and just trying to appeal to what, works for the fire department or police department or a school teacher and want to have more kids and start their family. It's all good stuff. But I had one agent, and he sent over a cover letter. It was a picture of him at a D-backs game with his girlfriend and him with his car, which this agent because he puts his car in every single picture of a house. Like every single house he lists, his car is in the front yard. Yeah. And wait, you guys are going to be thumbing through and you're going to see this picture of this, I think it's a convertible Thunderbird. And or Jaguar or something like that. But you'll see this picture and you'll be like, oh my gosh, that's that guy. So he sent me a cover letter. And honestly, okay, so you know how you get it? It's like a PDF. It's 3 pages long or whatever it is. The first 2 pages, one was a full-size picture of him and his girlfriend. I was dying. Yeah, so that's not what we mean by cover letter. It still makes my day when I talk about it. Okay, let's see. This little house is so cute. There you go. Sawtale tile. Brand new. But look at it. It's all like, feels like Central America. And everyone's like, boy, does that need updating. I'm like, they just did that. Isn't that cute? So on one hand, I have somebody come into the house and say, look at the little tile that they added around the back of the bathtub. We got light bulbs on. I haven't noticed that before. Maybe I need to replace those. Yeah, look at that. So people, and it was, so this little condo is 1,700 square feet. They're getting $4,400 a month in a VRBO rental. So I did the math on that. If you were to put 20% down, your break even would be at 8.3 months. Everything after that, and that's with a home warranty, with insurance, with $200 a month HOA included. Your break even is 8 months. That is a fantastic cap rate. So anyhow, it's funny what people see. Oops, we're done with this guy. Well, I think that is pretty much it for the presentation. What concerns? What the best tool in your toolbox when you're negotiating is getting along with the other agent. When you ask somebody when you're new, and I was very tempted. I wanted to know everything that I could know. I didn't want to look stupid. None of us do. But I think one of the greatest things that I learned to say to my clients is, when they would ask me something, is acknowledge, that's a great question. Or, I never thought of that, I see your point. Or, I see where you're going with that. I didn't think of that. Let me ask and get back to you. Even if you're at an open house and somebody comes in with one of those questions and you just think to yourself, there's a moment of panic. I should know this. Let me get your name, let me get your number, which is a great way to get names and numbers. Acknowledge the question. That's a great question. I never thought of that. Or whatever it is, to say, I don't know. We're all afraid we don't want to look stupid. This is our job. We should know these things, right? But don't be afraid to acknowledge that you don't have all the answers. And I think that is a skill. And I would practice in your car or in the bathroom or whatever, just saying that out loud. That's a great question. Oh, yeah, I don't know if this is a 15,000 gallon pool or a 17, and it may not be a great question. But let me find out. Or is this a salt cell, or is it chlorine? Sometimes you don't get all that information on an MLS plano. but now you've got their name and their number and you can call them back. And it's just a great way of accepting, that you're new. And even, I get stumped all the time. Go ahead.
So, I kind of wanted to ask you kind of a personal question, I guess, but what did you do to like stand out from other agents, like, you know, how people start like agents like us, and what did you do different that, you know, made you so successful?
I didn't learn all the reasons why I couldn't be successful. So people are gonna tell you, well, in your first year, you know, you'll only do 12 transactions. Or most new agents only do 4 transactions. Or I didn't learn that, I didn't let that into my head. Not that I built a wall against it, but I thought, well, I'll just sell properties in my own neighborhood because I'm a 5-year-old and he does half days at school and I don't really want to drive to Glendale or Peoria, I don't even know where that is. And so I didn't know what I didn't know. And so there's rules, like as a new agent, don't go into an area where there's another agent that has over 25% market share. Like, I didn't know that. So what I did is I decided that I had to pretty much sink my boat, like get in the boat. I use this analogy a lot with people where some people are realtors and they're a teacher, or they do some other form of business. Anybody in here have another career that they're leaving? Okay, Allegiant. Okay, so they're doing 2 different careers and they think that real estate is easy. It's a full-time commitment for me. I'm in my office no later than 9 o'clock in the morning. I work hard. So when I got into real estate, I didn't learn all the rules of why I couldn't be successful. Nobody told me, Barbie, there are 2 other agents that have been in the business for 15 years and they know the market like the back of their hand, and nobody's done this with anybody but Charlie Randall, and there was this other agent who has since passed away. And they live here, and they know this area, and nobody told me that. So here I am, and my first listing's $800,000. And one of my neighbors, Tom Ollinger, sweet guy, but he comes through and he's like, Barbie, there's never been a house selling here for this price per square foot. And I said, oh, but don't, you know, look around. Don't you think it's worth it? And here he was, the big man on campus. He is Mr. ASU, his license plate, sell ASU, buy ASU. So he's strolling through my listing and I am just so happy, but I know he is one of the big dogs. And he's like, Barbie, this will never sell. And so I do an open house. The next week, I've got another open house. And first of all, you're not supposed to do, I guess, open houses on luxury homes. We just don't do that. We don't do open houses in Westlake. This is gated. I was like, wow, I didn't know that, but I called them and they opened the gate. Well, we don't want all those people in here. But all of a sudden I'm meeting all the neighbors. They're all coming in and, okay, so he comes in a week later and he goes, Barbie, he's like, are you really a licensed agent? And I thought, he's looking me up. So I said, well, of course. And he said, well, I've looked you up and I don't see that you're really a licensed agent. And I said, well, my name ends with an I, not an E, so maybe you're looking it up wrong. Well, you still haven't sold it. I'm like, no, but do you have a buyer for it? I know you know this area. I know you've lived in here forever. Certainly you know somebody who wants to be your neighbor. And he laughs and he's like, if it wasn't so overpriced. Full price offer, a week later, I was on the map. So I didn't know what my walls were, what my limitations were supposed to be. And thank goodness. And I think that that's a gift when you're a new agent, is to be a little ignorant. Not dumb, just you don't know what you don't know. So it's not such a bad thing. I didn't know that you weren't supposed to do open houses on luxury homes, but let me tell you, I met everybody in the neighborhood when I did, because I was in the high-end custom homes of that entire development. Well, people admired that, man, that girl works. And I would do open houses on Fridays. I do them on Wednesdays, which were half days at the school. I mean, I had nothing better to do, right? I needed to sell houses. I needed to afford my lifestyle. So when I would when I teach real estate class, and I teach several, but one of them is the name tag. I see you're the only one in here with a name tag. It was uncomfortable for me at first to do this, but now I have one in every color. I keep them in my car, they're in my purse, and I don't leave home without it. This is a very overt way of saying I'm a realtor, ask me questions about real estate, but I also have workout shirts, you know, the racerback workout shirts. I go to the gym, it says King and Associates on the back of it. I have t-shirts that I wear to like my nephew's football games. I used to wear them to my son's games because I didn't want to wear a name tag. I wanted to be in shorts and a t-shirt, so I just had t-shirts, King and Associates, real estate. So people began to talk to me and they began to take me seriously as an agent. And I think that was so important. My next purchase after these $10 name tags was real estate signs, open house signs. So who in here is doing open houses other than you? Okay, do you have your own real estate signs? Okay, take that $250, you started a new business, and go buy signs. And they don't need to say anything other than your name and open house with an arrow. I mean, yeah, you gotta get fair housing and all that little jargon down there. But get yourself a dozen real estate signs and use them. I don't care if you need to make one turn off of Guadalupe and there's the house. Put out 12 signs. Go to the grocery store if you're doing open houses on Saturdays and Sundays. Go find the McDonald's. Doesn't everybody go to McDonald's if there's one convenient? So when I do Val Vista Lakes, I'm doing close to the McDonald's because I know McDonald's has spent thousands of dollars figuring out where the most traffic is. So I'm going to rely on their information. I'm not going to go it alone. And the other thing that I did is I looked around at signs and I looked and I thought, well, look at this. The state of Arizona and every other state uses gold and black. Well, look at that, must be the color that gets everyone's attention. So my open house signs were burgundy and gold. So I get everyone's attention. They're burgundy with a gold crown. It reads open house and there's an arrow and that's it. So it has King and Associates, King and Associates. So even if it's not me doing an open house, maybe a new agent or somebody in one of my farm areas, there's 12 signs. They're at the grocery store, they're at the car wash, they're at the McDonald's, they're at the high traffic. If there was a Lowe's or a Home Depot, that's where I want my signs. Not so much that I'm dragging people from Home Depot, but I mean, when I have to go to Home Depot on the weekend, it's not a one-trip event for me. I always screw it up and get the wrong thing and wrong whatever, and I'm going back a couple times. There's my open house sign. And I might put open house signs in those areas at 9 o'clock in the morning, even if my open house doesn't start until noon. Because I want people to see my sign. I now go to listing appointments and I'll do that presentation of this is who we are, or we know who we are. We already know who you are. Even if I've never met them. Or they'll say to me, you are everywhere. Or do you work every day? We see your signs on cars. I'm like, oh, that must have been my mom or my sister. I've gotten listings from King and Associates or Val Vista Lakes Real Estate or Fountain of the Sun because one guy pulled into the parking lot at Superstition Springs Mall and my sister's truck was parked there. She has my logo in the back of the truck and he had just had a conversation with his wife. We always wanted to live in Val Vista Lakes and we pulled into the parking lot and there was this car and we want to sell our house in Superstition Springs. We want to move to Val Vista Lakes, and then his daughter bought a house. Okay, $125 for that ValVistaLakes.com sticker in her car. And so I paid my sister. Thank you for the referral.
That's awesome.
I spiff her. I don't pay her.
So I guess I have a question about the open house sign. So if we're not doing our own listings right now, because we don't have any, can we put our own open house signs on someone else's listing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as long as, I mean, you're only going to be allowed to do KW listings. Is yours your own listing or is it?
It's not my own listing. I've done, I don't know, like the last 6 weeks or so I've done open houses, but some listing agents want you to use their signs.
Yeah.
So I would just ask, you know, do you have a preference? Can I use my own signs or do you require that I use your signs?
Well, and I would negotiate that. I would say in front of the house, I'm going to put 2 of mine with one of yours.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe the others you're using theirs. It's hard for me when other agents do open houses in certain neighborhoods because I know that they're going to get eaten alive. I know how, like, there's one retirement community, everybody knows us, they come in looking for us. Hey, is Barbie here, is Mary here? So it's hard for another agent to do that,
Mhm.
because they already have a relationship with one of us,
Mhm.
so it's not a very good open house scenario. And even I've had other buyers, like a new buyer's agent, come into an area where, oh, is Mary here? Yeah, so she's not picking up any leads because she knows they already know Mary. And so sometimes new agents get offended when I turn them down in
Mhm.
specific areas.
Mhm.
So, but
Makes
if you
sense.
can use your own
Yeah.
signs you should. To me, it's like, it would be hard for me to have another agent use their signs in certain areas. Like Val Vista Lakes, I'd let you use your own signs. But it's more for your own protection, because we've been doing business in there so long.
Yeah.
It's such a small community, and, yeah.
And I didn't wanna say, well, I have my own, I just didn't wanna ruffle the other signs, use their signs.
Right.
'Cause I want them to keep asking me to have open houses for them, so maybe once I do
Are
a
you doing
certain
it for
amount.
guests?
So, say that again?
Who are you doing the open houses?
Amy Jones.
Oh, good.
Shivani last weekend.
Nice.
So, and they just said, come pick up signs,
Okay,
but Amy Jones wanted me to use their signs.
of course.
Yeah.
Well, and that might be, because they have farm areas as well.
Yeah.
And so, like I have people come in, and I did an open house in Val Vista Lakes, and it had been a while. And this couple came in and they said, "You're not Barbie." Yeah, I am. You know, it's like I haven't seen you in a while. Or I had one person come in to an open house and tell the gal, "Oh, I dated Barbie in high school, and what was my sister that was doing the open house, and she knew I dated the same kid for 3 years in high school." She's like, "Barbie, there's this black dog." You know, so it's kind of funny. But you do, honestly, people come in expecting to see me.
Yeah.
So that can be hard in certain areas, but that should be your first investment. You guys go ahead and get a silver, or gold, or black, whatever you're doing, name tags, and then signs. Get your open house signs. I tell new agents, it should be the first investment. When you are starting a new business, how much money did you set aside to put into this business? I mean, you paid for real estate school, you had to pay your dues, you had a membership at Seminar, you have to have a lockbox key. You have to have signs. It's almost more important than all the other stuff. So I would get, how many do you have? Do you have a dozen or?
I have 5 right now, and then I
Okay.
just borrow some from downstairs
Sure.
if I have, if I'm far off an arterial or. need-
Buy another 4 or 5
Yeah,
with your
yeah.
first commission check. And ladies, I would say there's these kind that are vinyl wrapped that have a plastic handle. Do those. Some of them are heavy and they get hot in the summer. So, how's your traffic been on your open houses?
Not good the last 2 weeks.
It's just home
I did a home in Ironwood Crossing,
Okay.
kind of Queen Creek,
Uh-huh.
240,000, and it was built in 2015. It had nice upgrades. It was a good price point, and I had nobody come in on Saturday and 2 people on Sunday after church. And it was listed. It was open house in MLS on Zillow, and then this last weekend, that Saturday and Sunday. Saturday I had 2 people. It's in Eastmark. And then yesterday I had 4, so it's better, and it was on Zillow, it was on MLS, it was,
It's just hot.
yeah,
Honestly, I know we dropped to 100 degrees, but I was in and out of my car, it was Monday or Tuesday. For me, it felt like the hottest day of the year, and it was only 100 degrees, it was just absolutely miserable. So, it's a tough time.
yeah, I thought, this last weekend was this at 3:30? It was built last year, I mean, it was really nice. In the gated section, I thought there would have been more traffic on both listings, but I was completely wrong.
Where do you live?
I live in Santa Valley.
Have you chosen a farm area?
No.
Okay,
So-
so I you know, heck, my first closing is 800,000, right? So then my second closing was like 700, you know, I'm up there in these higher price ranges, but I don't know any different, you know? And, so I'm at this little boutique real estate company, and I thought everybody was doing what I was doing. I had no idea. I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. So I go to the Christmas party, and I started like in June, and it's, you know, December, and they're like, Rookie of the Year, and second highest sales at the office, and the daughter of the owner was first. And I guess she wasn't so happy. And I had started out doing her open houses. So that got to be, but I was glad that I didn't hear, like, oh, you don't do open houses in the summer because people don't want to get out of their cars. All you need is one person that desperately needs to sell. Or one buyer that is looking at this area because they're transferring here for work. All you need is one. And we treat our open houses as an office. As a matter of fact, when we had vacant properties, I would say to the agents, don't come in here. You're not gonna have people coming in and out of our office looking to buy and sell houses. Go do your work on your computer at one of the vacant houses. And get yourself a jetpack if they don't have internet and use that as your office. You don't need to come in here. There's no business walking in and out of my office here.
And that's one thing I did ask you guys, the listing agent, hey, can I get the Wi-Fi password if it's possible? Because I was doing it off my phone. And people, you know, your hotspot or whatever, people want to know some stuff or you look up some stuff, and then I felt like maybe because my internet wouldn't load fast enough. So I've just been asking if it's occupied, if it's vacant, you know, you're gonna have a harder time, but if it's occupied and they have internet stuff, hey, can I get the login or password information so I can.
Good.
Yeah.
An iPad is a smart way to go, and then download Open Home Pro. Open Home Pro is, I don't know, maybe it's $14, $15 a year. It's not expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But when you put in the MLS, it populates all those photos. You just hand your iPad to somebody walking in and say, here, I can send you all the photos of this house. And they put their email in, and there's 5 questions. Do you currently own a home? Is your home on the market? Are you know, there's 5, and you put your own questions in.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got their information. You can send them a thank you card. When they go out the front door, they've already got the email.
Yeah.
They've got your information. So that Open Home Pro is really handy.
Okay.
And it has hopefully professional photographs, not like your neighbors.
Right.
Let me ask you, Harvey, like, we had an open house this weekend, and, well, I don't know, it was in days, whatever I guess, cause there was people, there was talking, but I feel like I didn't get anything out of it. Well, I partnered with another agent.
Okay.
And he's really good, he's showing me a flat price.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but I don't know, like, I'm thinking, cause someone would answer that they didn't have a realtor, but you never know.
Okay.
So, like, how not aggressive, but what's the word, like,
Proactive.
so much harassment activity.
No, so we don't need to, and honestly, we have a little thing that we made up that goes right here outside on the little side light, or we put it on the door.
Yeah.
And welcome, all guests will be required to sign in.
Yeah.
So they make that decision when they reach for that doorknob, whether or not they're going to be signing in. Because you've notified them that that's your expectation if they come in, right?
Yeah.
And so you've notified them, so it's a very easy, oh, hey, welcome to the neighborhood. We've got our sign-in sheet right here, or just sign in on this iPad. And if people say we don't want to sign in, then I follow them. And that's happened once, that somebody hasn't wanted to sign in. The other thing is, when I first started doing open houses, I thought I was there to sell that house for that agent. No, you're there to pick up buyers and sellers.
So how do you do that? Because out of all
Rapport.
the people, maybe 2 said that they like that house, but the other ones were like, oh, no, we're looking for something cheap or whatever. But then, you know, it's like, okay, there's an opportunity.
How does that
there,
flow?
you
How does
know?
that conversation
Yeah.
flow? So you just get real, you get out of I need to be a realtor mode, and you would think like somebody walking into the house saying, oh, we really like this neighborhood, or our house isn't on the market yet, we don't really know what it's worth. Oh, well, I can get you, here, let me get your address, let me get you comps on your house, How long have you been thinking of moving? Why are you moving? Do you need something bigger? Do you need something smaller? Are you downsizing or whatever? So it should be the same thing, like why would I be moving? Why would anybody else? So it's just a normal conversation. And I think, again, you have to get out of your own way. You have to get out of that thinking that I am here to sell this house. And I was a nervous wreck. I mean, I took 38 with me. First time I did an open house, it was stuffed in the drawer. And I was just like, okay, where's my exit strategy? You know, I was so wrapped up. And it will take a while, but you're going to learn to ask them questions. And then you always try and identify something about them that you can relate to. So you want to build that relationship. And a lot of times it's the license plate on the car, or you know, possibly something they're wearing, like a t-shirt that says, you know, whatever, New York, or that you're just trying to build that rapport. Where are you from in New York? And what brings you to this neighborhood? And oh, we're going to the birthday party down the street. Or it could be anything. Oh, whose house is that? You know.
And then, so once you do that, how do you ask for advice for you to be their agent?
You offer to help them. You form agency. How can I help you get to where you want to go? Can I send you some information on other properties in this neighborhood? Would you like me to send you comps on the house that you're in? Right. And they could shut you down if they say, oh, we're already working with a realtor. Great, maybe I know him. Would you like me to send them this listing? So super simple. But I get where you're at. You're nervous. Yeah, but you have to come from, I always think if you give somebody something, you're going to get something back. So that's another thing. We have bottles of water, we have cookies, we have, one day I made the mistake of doing popsicles, biggest mistake. But it was hot and then I was stupid. And so, like, what are you giving them? Is it a pen? Is it, we have all sorts of things labeled, like we call them rubber husbands, you put them on the jar and yeah, so, and they have our name on them. Oh, take one. We feel like if you're giving somebody something, you're more likely to receive back, but you want it to flow. You want it to flow really natural. Nobody likes to be sold. I hate to walk into a store and like a car dealer and know that, which one am I getting? Whose up is it? You're like, oh, not that guy with the high waters. You know, you're just like, ugh. So, and you get nosy neighbors. And we do. Okay, so first thing that you say, because they're going to come in and they're going to apologize. Oh, we're just nosy neighbors. We don't have anything to buy or sell. We just want to see what they did on their remodel. Yeah. Or we saw the furniture truck out here. We want to know what they bought. And we say, we love nosy neighbors. You guys are our best source of information. Have there been any private sales in here? Anybody going into foreclosure? What do you guys know? Tell me. And we do. We get like down and sketchy with them. Like, come on, tell us. What do you know? And they love to tell you because they want to be the expert. Yeah. And that's where you get your information. And especially in the retirement communities, you get some of these people that have nothing better to do because they don't work anymore. And they're like, oh, let me tell you about that house. That guy ran off with a neighbor and left his wife, and she's got Alzheimer's. And you get the story, you get the dirt. And it's good to know, oh, that house flooded. And so you go, oh, well, when we go to appraise this house, they just want the appraiser to know, oh, by the way, that house flooded. Or, you know, whatever it is. So they are a great sort. You coddle them. You love them. Yeah, the neighbors are awesome. So I teach an open house class, which is really fun, because I like to. There's so much going on with open houses, but there's an art to it. And you might shadow agents who do a lot of open houses. Mary Newton, Gus Palmazzano. I know Kenny Klaus's team does a ton of open houses. You can learn so much, and there's like no investment in an open house other than some flyers. If you don't have your own signs, you can use the one at the office, but we do a ton of open houses.
And everybody has their own style, right? Like I'm thinking everybody.
Yeah, a little bit.
Their own, yeah.
I think once you get to like the good ones, they all do it the same. You're gonna go, wow, they made it look so easy. It's because you're just natural. You're just having those conversations. So, and I think the biggest thing, have you guys done the open house class or the identifying?
In Ignite?
Yes.
Yeah, we had one.
Was it good? Who taught it? Do you recall?
Ty West,
Oh, he's high energy.
I think, right?
He's super high energy.
I don't know if it was the open house when we talked about it.
Yeah, we did talk a little bit about it, but I'm not so sure that.
Wow. Well, Ty's a fun guy. He's been in the business a long time. He loves Keller Williams, and I'm sure he, does some open houses. Mary, you
Did have really good tips, yeah.
did he? Okay. And that's kind of what we want to give you. I mean, this is all, it's not really pie in the sky, but this is like the theory behind it, but like why you should go preview houses. Go in twos if you want, but put that on your calendar and previewing houses every Tuesday or every Thursday or whatever it is. You will get listings. And honestly, we used to like to go to the ones that had been on the market a while and to try and figure out why they haven't sold. And then we don't see it as much anymore, but a lot of agents used to put their clients' numbers, contact them directly, which I would never do. So that was always a super easy conversation. And when they got tired of their agent,
So I was gonna ask you, can I say, they say, I already have a realtor, I can say, that's fine, you can still have my card, these are your questions.
sure, yeah.
Or be tired.
Here's a flyer. No, here's a flyer. You can always talk about what you do when you list a house. You cannot guide them on what they're doing when they've listed their house. Like I had one agent, he goes through all my properties, and if my sellers are there, he gives them all advice. I just want to throttle them back. But he's like, then they'll call me, they'll be like, well, why don't you do blank list just here? And he told us we need to take down all the pictures in the hallway. Or he was here and told us we need to replace the carpet, I get that. But you cannot do that, folks. You cannot do that. But you can say, well, we have a complete listing guide and it goes over everything that we do. And, if you weren't listed, I'd love to share that with you. And if you want to make a change, you can certainly reach out to me. Here's my business card. But you cannot give them any advice. And that gal, the one on the 1.38, she wanted advice so bad. And we're like, your house is beautiful, don't worry.
But when it comes to open houses though, and they might just be saying that they have an agent, or they might not be. I don't usually. I may ask like, I might know them, and if they really don't know or can't remember where they work or anything about them, then I'll usually say, hey, you got, I might offer my business card and say, hey, just want to give you that. If you guys have any other questions about it or anything like that, then I might just
You never know.
Yeah.
Because you never know. Yeah,
Or I'll say, I'm sure that your agent's taking great care of you, and you're in great hands. But if you have any questions or